last week on Gleeboot, season 5 of Glee went out with a shrug as they all sang Pompeii. Sam moved back to the high school where he lives. And Rachel is, I guess, getting her own TV show where the pilot ends with her just openly discussing the meaning of love. And that's what you missed on Gleeboot.
Wait, wasn't last week the ballot?
Oh my gosh. I just edited the... So last week, we decided Nasty Rhythm Nation mashup was the best song of season 5, with Toxic for the Unholy Trinity coming close, the tiebreaker being my vote. And we decided that all the newbies were really waste potential and bad choices were made all around.
Yeah, and that's what happened.
Gleeboot. And then the episodes, it was pretty consistent. Like, at least on our end, we all voted for quarterback, Puppet Master, and then I voted for the LA City of Angels, and I think you guys voted for
Katie or Gaga.
Katie or Gaga, yeah.
Because we're like, that's the only other one we remember.
Exactly.
The two genders.
Yes.
Katie or Gaga have songs in this episode, this movie.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gloovy, if you will.
Gloovy, yes. Featuring Oscar winner Gwyneth Paltrow. We're talking about the Glee concert movie.
3D concert movie.
3D
yes,
concert.
3D. That's my first question. How and why is this in 3D?
But it's 2011, and that's when everything was in 3D.
Yes.
How are you supposed to find like the actual 3D movie of it?
You need a 3D TV.
Mm-hmm. And 3D glasses, potentially, depending on the type of TV you have.
Mm-hmm. And then you buy it on like Vudu. I think you can buy a 3D version of it, probably.
Yeah.
So it
Blu-ray?
was what we watched, but in 3D?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So
my gosh.
I think like at certain points you could tell that there was some sort of 3D element just because of the way it was shot, especially like the ending credits. It looked like there was slushy all over my living room.
Mm-hmm.
It just, yeah. But anyway, we have special guests.
Welcome back to Glee Boo, the show where we get drunk and talk about rebooting Glee one episode at a time. I'm Cullen.
Alyssa.
And I'm Hannah, and we're unhinged.
And we have our special Glee bonus content expert, Julia.
Hi. Excited to be back.
Welcome back. It's been a while.
I know. It's been a bit since I got to shit on Ryan Murphy, which I don't feel I get to do today. His influence was not strongly felt on this one.
But he was still talking. You could hear his voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not quite the same.
It was relatively harmless.
Like, literally narrating?
So, I mean, we can talk about it, but there are a couple moments where like someone behind the camera is talking to the actors who I guess are in character, which is something I have a lot of questions about.
It's very...
And that's Ryan Murphy. So,
okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't recognize his voice, so I had no idea.
So, yeah, that was him.
So what are we drinking today? I have an 805, and I decided we had Rafa's family over the other day, so we have a bunch of leftover beverages, and I have a Corona lined up because I know we're thinking this might be a short episode, but I know us. And I know I'm going to need a second drink.
Also, I know you, and you speed drink.
Yes.
So I
the
think
show
that's
is very stressful to do.
Just like chugging.
Can you guys guess what I have?
A Topo Chico hard seltzer.
Topo Chico hard seltzer. It's the lemon lime. Apparently, I don't like these as much as I like the other flavors because that's all that's left in the fridge.
Wait, so if I made an ad, like a Hannah sponsoring Topo Chico hard seltzer, could they cease and desist me?
Probably.
But for what reason, though? It's free money.
Right.
Yeah, you're saying positive things about the product.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that like people on YouTube and streamers have like a problem mentioning or even like showing different brands, either because of like other contracts or just because they're worried that the companies are going to come after them.
Well, that's the thing, though. We have no contracts. We are not officially influencers. Like,
I don't know
gonna
how
happen?
many people have been going after Topo Chico hard seltzer because I've been talking about it every week. What's the data on that? Let us know in the comments. Leave us a 5-star review if you love Topo Chico hard seltzer. If you're 21 and over.
Yes.
See,
we
that's
don't want
good.
any 5-star reviews from minors for drinking this.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
What are you guys drinking?
I am drinking a Bloody Mary. I did not mix all of the ingredients myself. This is a mix that I bought from the store, but it looked really good, so I bought it. It's called Cutwater margarita, or not margarita mix, Bloody Mary mix. And I got it because you can actually like see the spices in it.
Oh,
So they're definitely there for sure, and it is spicy.
If you listened to the bonus episode where I interview my dad about his book, you will know that my great aunt Dorothy called Bloody Mary Bloody Elizabeth because Elizabeth had a higher body count.
wow, amazing.
Yeah,
I really want
the real ones will know.
I really, really want
The real
this
good
to be
booties.
called Cutthroat Bloody Mary mix, but it's called
that
Cutwater.
sounds real.
Yeah, because
Oh.
Cutwater it's a brand because
It is a brand.
we got something that was Cutwater. I can't remember if it was like a beer or a seltzer, but yeah, we just had it. It was pretty good, actually.
Apparently they have a vodka too, because they were telling you how to make it with their vodka, which I
Yes,
did not buy.
I think it was a vodka seltzer's water. Yeah.
Do you
Julia.
have a beverage, Julia?
I do. I'm drinking $6 white wine out of an IKEA glass.
Wonderful.
Honestly, I feel like that
Lovely.
matches the vibe of the
Yeah.
Gloncert. movie.
That feels like the budget that they put into this Glee 3D concert movie reflected in a drink.
Yeah, all the budget went to the end credits.
The end credits were lovely. I was quite surprised.
Yeah.
You guys sat through the end credits?
No, they
There
just
was
kept
an
playing
encore.
and I couldn't. Oh, there was?
Yeah,
Did you guys-
there was an encore
I
and
heard
a
about
blooper
immediately.
performance.
I missed
my
that.
goodness.
Oh my God. Do I have to go back and watch more Gloncert?
I didn't get to the blooper performance. I did get to the encore. I didn't know there was something more.
It was Baby Blaine. It was more
They
Baby
put
Blaine.
things after the
Oh my,
credits
wait, but
before
he was
that
my favorite
happening.
part.
Oh my gosh.
He does they do an entire thing of him doing Raise Your Glass, like reenacting all of Blaine's moves. And like the best part though is like, you know how when like Blaine like jumps into the group, we've talked about this choreo multiple times. This is iconic.
And you
choreo.
loved it. And I was like, meh.
He like jumps into the group and he like does a physical record scratch.
Yeah.
And the little kid like hides behind his couch and like jumps out.
Oh, that part. I love that little kid. I remember seeing that video a long time ago, like probably when it first, and then I noted, obviously we're getting really ahead of ourselves, but he wasn't saying Valentine. He was doing the little kid saying Valentine. And I was like, I'm dead. That's so cute.
He was the best part.
That
of the
was
film.
the
It
best
should have been the
part.
whole film.
Because
I'm gonna go
little
back and watch that.
kids, like a certain brand of little kid will just get very like fixated on like a small thing and they'll just memorize it and they'll just do it.
Oh yeah. That kid was so dapper. Just his little warbler suit.
Yeah. So you know, I could have been looking up facts about this when it came out, what was going on. But here's what it was between seasons 2 and 3.
Yep.
So I looked this up. It was filmed between seasons 1 and 2, I think.
No,
And then it
but
came out between 2 and 3, or was it the same?
it was because
I know it was like a year, but different.
because there was
Oh,
Sam and
true.
Blaine, so they're post
Yeah.
season 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think it came out between 3 and 4 is what I meant.
maybe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because I was looking it up because I was like, I feel like this came out later in Glee's run, but these fans seem fucking insane. And I don't feel like anyone was that insane about it after like season 3.
No.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was
Yeah.
peak Glee. This was Glee at the height of its power.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
You know.
There were so many people.
Yeah. And they
Yeah.
were all
This was a national
invested.
tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the internet, they talked about going to other countries.
They
Oh,
they went to Dublin.
Yeah. Damien McGinty, he was in
He
the
was
he was
there.
in the crowd.
As he
I
should
saw
have been.
that. Did they actually go to Lima? Did they actually perform in Lima? Is there a space in Lima, Ohio for them to even perform at? I don't know. I didn't. I was about to look it up. I was like, I don't want to put the energy into that.
So, it's just really interesting to imagine, like, what if this happened post Untitled Rachel Berry project? What would this have looked like?
A hot mess. Like this
the puppets are there and they're doing what the fox say.
Oh God. But
there would
maybe
be no Finn.
Adam Lambert might have been there. And same thing with Demi Lovato.
Yeah, but audience wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have been able to sell out a venue or like be in a venue.
Yeah, that's how insanely popular Glee was at that time, that it could fill out venues across the country. This wasn't just like a New York, LA, like immersive experience kind of thing, which a Glee immersive experience would actually kind of be fun.
Are we talking about like what kind of immersive experience? Because
like the Bridgerton one, like you kind of go, you're kind of in character. There are actors in character. Maybe they're not the characters from Glee. Like it's not like there's a Blaine there, but it's like they're Glee-ish characters.
Yeah, like
maybe
there's
people
a
get
generic
slushied.
Warbler, generic Rachel Berry.
That I'm in high school again does not sound fun to me, but okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tell that to Drew Barrymore and Never Been Kissed.
You're right.
Another movie I've never seen.
Really?
No, I have not.
That's the best movie.
It's a weird one, but it's
a weird one,
but good.
It's one of my like I have like 6 movies that I like own on iTunes, and they're like what I used to watch like on planes when I didn't like anywhere I didn't have internet. And so I've seen all of those movies like dozens of times. Never Been Kissed is one of that's a lot of Drew Barrymore movies. But
that's also the name of the movie or the episode that Blaine appeared in for the first time.
There we go.
Oh, you're right.
Klosky kisses Kurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
If this was a Glee murder mystery night, that is an immersive experience I would go to.
I would host one then. That'd be fun.
Yes.
But everyone has to sing.
Yes. 100%.
There's a group number too.
So I turned this on Hulu. So I was watching it on the living room TV, and the person who also watches Hulu watches it with closed captions. I thought it was a sing-along for like the first 20 minutes. I was like, oh wait, no, it's just closed captions. I was like, oh cool, sing-along version. Awesome.
That would have been better.
I feel like there should have been.
Like I did not see this in theaters, which is surprising to me because it really feels like something I would have seen in theaters. But like, had it been a sing-along, like I would have been there. Yeah,
I feel like. I mean, they did like Frozen sing along, which would have been like around the same time as this. So yeah, the market, it's there.
Yeah. So basically, the Glee cast went around. They did concert.
And in character.
In character, yes.
The whole movie is in character.
I did not realize they were in character until they started talking to Rachel about Barbra Streisand. And that's when I was like, oh.
It took me a little while too. Because at first I was like, oh, this is just, the actor's little quips. And then I'm like, okay, wait, no, but this person seems like they're in character, but this person might not be.
But it also shows how, like, aside from maybe like Britney, their characters aren't that drastically different from who they are.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was
though.
Britney that showed me that they were in character.
I thought Heather was just funny. I thought Heather was just like being clever and saying stuff.
Well, I don't think they had written dialogue. I mean,
no.
I'm sure Lee Michelle had rehearsed dialogue. Definitely not written.
Ryan Murphy was there. That was the first time Ryan Murphy spoke. And I was, oh, he's just reciting stuff back to her and she's saying it. Got it.
But, like, I'm pretty sure Heather Morris was coming up with those quips.
Probably.
It was very improv. I just did not have someone writing dialogue.
No.
Here's my question though. So in this universe, the kids of New Direction, who at this point, like flunked out of nationals, isn't that what happens at the end of season 2? Go on a national tour, sold out cities across the countries. where people are talking about them like they are characters on a television show, talking about their lives and details that they shouldn't know because these are just normal students from high school. And they're all like, this is normal time to sing. Like, I don't get the conceit.
Well,
It's
also,
so weird.
Also, they would be disqualified because, as you know, from Mattress, they can't take money.
You cannot get paid. But also, spoiler alert, Artie walks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was like, no. At first I was like, I can suspend my disbelief because I was on that same train, Julia. And then he does safety dance like he does in the show. He walks in his dream, but he walks in real life. And I'm like, the conceit's gone. You can't.
And also,
that was so frustrating.
When thinking about like what I come in as a fan, if I'm a fan who's going to see the Glee 3D concert movie, I don't want to see them in character. I want to see them being them and interacting as they do.
Right. That's what I kind of thought too. Like the character
Maybe that's
thing is
something they didn't want us to see.
I mean, they could have faked that as much as they could have faked this, you know?
Yeah, it was just so strange. It's like also like going to the concert, I feel like would make sense. Like, oh, I'm going to come see the characters. I think that could make sense. But as the movie, it's like a behind the scenes thing. I'm not looking at the characters because this doesn't make sense in the story of Glee. Artie walking, he's supposed to be disabled. Like he can't walk in the show yet. It was weird, a weird choice.
Here's, you know, the Gleeboot, right? That's our angle. This is how I would do it. If I was tasked with, okay, we need to do a tour of Glee. This show is insanely popular. We want to hear these songs live. These are rising stars. We got to do it. I would frame it as they're doing design it so it looks like a high school production. And they're doing this like shitty fundraiser or something for like the fire department or nursing home, you know, and they're on stage and like they're almost acting as if they're just performing to like a local theater,
right?
You know, like they're not acknowledged. Oh my gosh, look at this stadium. They're just like, oh hi, like thanks for coming out to our show. Like, I'm Rachel Berry. This is the Nude Erections. We're going to sing an original song we wrote that makes fun of the working class. And they like, you could even have like a joke with like one of those thermometer things of like, maybe they do like Run Joey Run and it goes down.
Interesting.
You know, like you could, and then they're all in character. And it's almost like a musical. Like a stage play.
I was thinking that too, like some sort of stage show where it makes sense that they're in character, but there's a story. But we get a small glimpse of like Brittany and Blaine. Brittany's like, do you want to make out? And then Kurt's like, are you trying to flirt with my man? And I was like, wait, there was a story. There was dialogue in this show. I was like, why aren't we just seeing that? But in a movie version? Like,
that's what I thought.
And then there was like
the
2/3 through where they're like, and now we're going to do a little scenelet before Gwyneth Paltrow shows up. And I was like, what?
Well, you know, they probably had the entire thing filmed. So I'm wondering, like, if they got such, like, terrible reviews on, like, the storyline that they were like, we got to scrap it. We got to do something else.
Maybe. Or I think it's, I don't know, because that's things like, I don't know why they would choose to do this. Like, yeah, it was cool to see how these people were so into the show. And like, I told Cullen and Alyssa that like, this was actually a really good reminder of how impactful in a positive way that the show was, that I think I completely forget often. But also I was like, but as someone going to see the movie, do I care? You know, I kind of would have rather seen
cared in
a weird show.
Why do we care?
Yeah.
Like, if you had made me a documentary that was like more about Glee's impact and where the cast were being themselves, I would have cared.
Yes.
And that's what would have helped, is like if backstage the cast was also like, here's Glee's impact. But it was just this like weird thing where it was like partly the cast doing these like numbers and like shitty outfits with no production value, partly these like kind of heartwarming fan stories, but that kept on like pulling away from the numbers and making it feel really disjointed.
It feels like they actually reorganized the entire like the set of the show to fit this narrative they have with these fans.
Yeah, that's not the order, that because like they'd be in outfits and they'd be back in those outfits and then that makes more. I thought they were just
the outfits were a hot mess across the board. So I thought that was just
so many costume changes. I can't even imagine.
I have a lot of screenshots and specific comments on a lot of the outfits.
Yeah, and I want her to send them to me so I can make an Instagram post.
You
of
should
them.
Share your screen and walk us through them. I would love this.
I have so many thoughts.
The conceit of this, I can't imagine myself going to see this because I actually thought it was like actors behind the scenes type thing, and then it wasn't. And I was like, why would I go see this then?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it could have been so straightforward and simple, and they just made all these choices that made it so weird. And like the fan stuff was cool to see how it impacted people and how it invented homosexuality. And how, but like how it really brought, queer identities into the mainstream in ways other shows, like you can't ignore like Will and Grace and Ellen and all that. But like to this generation, specifically to our generation, like I remember being like Catholic youth group and people essentially becoming not homophobic because of Glee.
Yeah, there were a couple of fans who were like, the show made me see people in a different light to like understand like, oh, like basically like they're people too, like kind of breaking away from the beliefs that they had been given. It's awesome to see that.
Which is the point of representation and the point of media in general is like media is supposed to build empathy. Like really that's the point of your English classes in high school. Like it is to learn how to write, but it's also to like, how do I connect to someone who's the king of Scotland or murdered someone to become the king of Scotland? Like that's the whole point of media is to build that empathy. And that's why when there's a lack of representation, it's a problem because you're only designed to empathize with certain kinds of people.
Right.
And representation, even as much as we joke about how Glee can be very bad representation, it was very impactful representation.
Yeah. Also, I think like the idea that we have these real life people and their stories sort of related to Glee, and then the characters of Glee, like it feels like it's half fiction mockumentary, half documentary about the impact of Glee, and it just does not match.
There were two ideas and they didn't pick one. They just did both.
Yeah,
and
like
that's
we're gonna
the
do
problem
both.
With Glee as a whole.
We're gonna do all these ideas and then figure out which one we like best. Oh, none of them are really like fully baked. We'll just slap them together.
That's season 4 and 5, baby.
So red velvet cake with green cream cheese frosting and like weird sprinkles, and there's chocolate chips, and
there's some
good. And there's
like
also a base of ice cream cake.
I like everything there except for the fact that the cream cheese frosting is green because food colorings freak me out.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it. So, it's just, I feel like this could have been something actually really interesting. And now it's like two things that are kind of there, and it's a little disappointing, but still weirdly refreshing.
I remember the Glee concert being like such a hot ticket when I was like around that age, and I didn't go because I just I hate concerts. I get very overstimulated with the noise and stuff. But this film kind of made me happy that I didn't go because I was like, damn, like the production value of this concert like fucking sucks, and the song choices were like not great. Like I would not have been happy as a fan showing up at that concert, which I loved.
Fat Bottom Girls made the cut.
Well, if you think about, well, they have to get the rights to all their songs again for live performance. It's true. Like that's what they had. That's what they're like. Because I don't know. Britney Spears is like, her conservators were like, okay, you can only have this one song, and then you have to pay us $1 bajillion.
Iconic one from. And then his performance was the best one there.
And then I'm trying to think of so he did Puck did a Neil Diamond song before. I'm just trying to think of all these different songs, but also they have Lauren Zicey's there. So they're probably, because she didn't do anything except for jump around during.
I recognize her,
Girls.
but I completely forgot her name.
Yeah.
She disappeared.
They didn't do any of the Justin Bieber experience.
True.
Yep.
Also, lucky, poor Sam and Quinn having to get up on that stage and sing that song.
So boring
it was
to
just
watch.
It was so boring. Like,
Yeah,
it was
it
so
was.
bad.
I also like kind of to your point about like how like concerts can be really overstimulating. Imagine like being in just like a regular concert and how like crazy that can be, but like a Glee concert at the peak, I wouldn't be able to handle that either. Cause like that's so many like very intense people.
An important question though.
Yeah.
Which is, if you had gone in 2010, what would your Glee concert outfit have been?
I probably would have had a Cheerios jacket, TBH.
I would have
Like
worn
that.
the Use Google Maps Ryan shirt that we designed. Also,
never
let us know if we should sell merch.
Maybe during the last season, we'll just have a big merch rush.
But I would have worn a green t-shirt, knowing what my fashion sense was. I would have worn a bright green, not a polo, but polo brand V-neck t-shirt with the one pair of American Eagle jeans that I had that I really loved and had like distressed rips. Yeah. And red sneakers, because those were my iconic shoes in high school.
Yeah.
Probably jeans and something black.
You wouldn't have dressed up?
Something black that was pretty.
No, I mean, like, I would have dressed up in like Glee costume. Like, I would have gone to Michael's and I would have gotten
Glee.
a white shirt. Oh, no, I would have done the Born This Way. I would have written a word, but I wouldn't. I would have been too lazy to print it, so I would have gotten like a Sharpie.
We're assuming
probably
that
would
one
have
of my
written like
friends
big
who watched
nose.
Glee
And that was
invited
it.
me, and I decided to go.
Yeah. I could have gone with my friend Kyle, who is my Glee godfather. And, you know, it just didn't happen. And I think it was for a reason that God or whatever being has not shown me yet. But, you know.
So you could experience it for the first time. With
I did.
I'm adding that to the Hannah narrative. You know, how I've spoken before, how I have my own invented narrative for Hannah's life. Pivotal moment, not going to Glee.
If I
Not
was
going to the Glee concert.
See, if I was going to cosplay as someone from Glee now, though, very specifically, Quinn's punk face.
Yeah, I would do that in my everyday, I think.
Okay, so
did Diana have that haircut, but without the like pink color
I
in
think
this?
so, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
right?
it was season 3, right? Season 3.
Feathers in her hair, which maybe was like some sort of weird callback, but
She had like the super short hair. Yeah.
yeah.
It's very cute.
Well, I did see a TikTok where, you know, like it's like one of those parties where it's like, I'm Dwight and I think Pam's getting drunk tonight. You know, like one of those, they did a Glee one and it was Punk. The person was Punk Quinn. But there are also multiple Wills and Emmas, and I'm like, bad taste.
Yeah. So kind of going back to the weird like documentary part where they're talking to the fans, like in the early part of the movie, everyone's like, I love this character, I love that character. 2 characters that really stood out to me, Puck and Artie, because even back then they were not good.
Yes, they had like fans.
The Artie fans made an interesting point that like he's a nerdy type that's been cast in a completely different light in sort of he's really talented. He's actually kind of cool because he can secretly dance because he's not actually disabled. But like they had like a really interesting point that like we're seeing someone who's kind of nerdy and that kind of outsider, especially also being a disabled person being represented, like they attached to that. Don't remember what anyone said about Puck. Can't imagine.
He was confident.
They just said, I love Puck. Ah!
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
so that was
there was a
interesting.
lot of talk about like, you know, like we're all nerds and like Glee is a show about the nerds. And it just makes me think of how Hollywood nerd it is because all these people are conventionally attractive.
Conventionally
There's-
attractive. There's
one plus size person. I get like 2 if you count Mercedes, but like that's like her body type. You know,
Yeah.
Like they're all like super thin and hot for the most part.
That was actually one of the things that I liked the least is when they interviewed all of the boys, because they were boys, about what their favorite characters were. And then they listed off Santana because she's hot. Quinn because she's hot.
Mhm.
And I'm like, really?
And I was like, how
Really?
many of you were saying that because you were trying to hide the fact that you were gay? Because you were at the Glee concert. Just saying.
I mean, the
Yeah.
evidence is there.
It was just really strange, them saying those two names. But I mean, I guess like they were probably younger. And this was, like we said, peak Glee. So people kind of had their rose-colored glasses on, I think.
Well, that
Also, I mean, they probably interviewed hundreds of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Everyone else was just screaming. These are the only people who actually like spoke words.
Yeah.
Well, I also think, you know, like all high school media, but especially Glee, sometimes people are thinking of the archetypes more than like the textual things that character has done. So they think Puck is the bad boy. So they're thinking of the archetype more than like, you know, the person that sexually assaulted Quinn. You know, you know, they're thinking of the nerd, not the person that calls all his girlfriends woman. You know,
This was also before Artie started negging girls pretty hard in the show. Like, it's kind of like season 3 that he starts being like kind of a real dick.
It's 2. He's still with Tina. He starts negging Tina.
Oh.
Also, no one said Tina, and I was like, wow, this Tina slander.
She was not in there.
Literally, they gave, so Mike Chang got actual like lines in the movie. Tina didn't say anything.
She didn't say anything.
And Mike
She was
got
never
like multiple
featured.
moments, which like as he should, because Harry can dance really well, but like Tina got nothing.
Apparently, she at the concert she sang True Colors, but it was cut from the movie.
Well, I mean, it's not like an exciting number. They did sit in front of a Windows Media Player screen.
That is true.
In the show, and that was the budget they had then.
So okay, but I wrote this down. I guess when Artie got 3 numbers, Tina got none.
She did her part in Born This Way. But that's
Artie
it.
had PYT, he had Safety Dance, and he had New York.
Yeah. So he had 3 features.
You know, that's almost like as many as Rachel. So Rachel had more, but like Rachel only had like 2 solos, which fine, like she didn't need more, but like the
I
fact
felt
that
like
Artie got
it was
almost
so
as
much
much
Rachel.
Yeah, but Artie got like almost as much. And I'm like, when they list the cast in the credits, he's first.
Who?
Probably alphabetical.
Diana Agron's first. Because it is alphabetical.
I don't know, because I saw, maybe I missed Diana, but I saw Artie, Rachel, Fenn. And I'm like,
that would be crazy.
In the slushy credits?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw Diana Agron first.
What demon did Kevin McHale make a pact with?
That's so
and
weird.
Why did he waste it on the Gloncert movie?
Well, actually, it's interesting because
strange.
he did get a lot of the interview time.
Yeah.
Quinn
wasn't interviewed at all.
Quinn wasn't.
Yeah.
No, Finn wasn't.
Tina wasn't. Finn wasn't.
Neither of them
right,
were.
The male lead. Rachel Leah Michelle only said dialogue to Riot. She was seen in other scenes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
The Leah Michelle getting ready thing that the movie opens with, when I did not realize they were in character and I thought that was just Leah Michelle, was
I did too. I was
terrifying.
like, she's
it was
so
jarring.
Rachel. Yeah.
I would have like thought I walked into a horror movie if that like it was just like the way it was filmed, the way she was looking at me, like I thought she was gonna eat my soul. So scared.
Actually, Kevin McHale's bit was pretty funny.
He was wearing a wig, and I was like, "Whose wig is that? And why is it there?
Well, he
and why
wasn't
is he
at the
wearing?"
beginning, and then halfway through he was, and I was like,
"Was that supposed to be a Mike Chang wig?"
I don't know. That's why I was like,
"It's when they did that weird Michael Jackson song together."
Well, wasn't it like, because isn't that the wig he wore like when Tina hits her head?
Maybe.
Everyone's different people.
No, but Artie's Santana.
Oh.
You know,
I don't understand.
Irrelevant, but they should have let that bit last longer in that episode. It's the best thing they ever did.
They should have done a song from Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark featuring Matt, who had spider eggs in his ears.
Yes.
I don't even think that musical existed yet, but I agree.
Oh, did it? I don't know.
I feel like that was like a 2012 situation.
This just predates that. So speaking of the 3D elements, there are like fireworks that happen later on in the movie. Those definitely were meant to be in 3D. When the names come up as like the real people, I guess I'm gonna call them. Those I think were meant to be in 3D because they kind of come out of like the front. And then the slushy credit sequence. That's it. That's all the 3D I saw.
I'd imagine
I was
some
not
of
even
the
able to,
people were.
Yeah, but like
differentiate that.
if you're looking at this and you think, okay, so I just watched Jurassic World Dominion in 3D and I forgot like how weird it was. I hate 3D stuff. It's just really weird. But like I'm thinking watching a concert like that and you're seeing them like separated in layers from like the stage and then like the real people in their real lives, like seeing that girl dance at prom in like 3D, I would not be into that. That was just so strange.
But this was the era when like every single movie was 3D, when you couldn't get into a showing that wasn't 3D.
I think Jonas Brothers did a concert, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was 3D.
Did Hannah Montana, One Direction, Justin Bieber.
Just because stereo exists doesn't mean you have to put it in stereo.
All right,
I promise.
So let's kind of just go through the order of the show. We've been going all over the place, but So my first note was Janae homophobic? Here's what I mean by that. There was a lot of
Janae's the girl that won Prom Princess.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, right? Okay.
Yeah. So there was spoiler alert for the Gloncert, the Gloncert movie in the year of our Lord
10 years
2022.
ago.
So there's a lot of like I used to think of people differently, and like Glee really changed that. Like we talked about. So there's a lot of like I used to be homophobic and then I watched Glee. But good for them. I'm not shading these children for being, but I was also like, there's a lot of homophobia coding. There's a lot of
it's like it's the subtext.
Yeah. But at the same time, like a Midwestern kid in that time wouldn't have known anyone who was gay until they saw Kurt on screen. So they would have heard of it as like a perversion people talked about.
Right.
Yes.
As like,
I mean, that they know of, they probably actually knew a lot of people who were gay.
They're everywhere.
So my next note, they do Don't Stop Believing. I thought they were going to close with this, but this is how they open.
I did too. And I was like, okay. Oh, yeah. And then, so when they first come on the screen, that's when they're like, their names spin up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's when I was like, oh, they're in character, but then things happen. I was like, oh, they're not. And I'm like, oh, they are. What? I'm confused.
And I think Sam and Blaine come out for Don't Stop Believing too.
Yes,
they do.
I think so.
I'm looking at a screenshot at this very moment.
And they're all in blue, not McKinley red.
Okay.
Well, they're Democrats.
Starting with them all in cheap ass blue polos with just like a fucking curtain, but like it looks so cheap. It looks so high school choir performance.
Yeah.
It looks awful. There's so many like bell bottoms in what was like decidedly a skinny jeans era. Like, I don't know why they styled them this way.
Like actual bell
85-year-old woman. What 85-year-old woman
kind of
styled
bell-bottomy? I want to sue the costume designer of this movie on their behalf. Like, I feel so awful for these children. But just like
grown adults.
Yeah, no, they're actually adults.
these people playing children.
Yes.
But just like, oh my, like I would have been so pissed because it's like, where's the budget? Where are the costumes? Where's the spectacle? Where's the performance?
Is that supposed to like reference like when they first did this number, they were just in jeans and t-shirts, I think. Like,
then put them in red t-shirts.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, is that supposed to be like an homage? Like it's very like toned down, but also like it's not sending the signals I need. It kind of looked like they worked at Walmart.
Yeah. And this to me is like, okay, because like Cullen said how he would Gleeboot this, and it's probably a better idea than my idea. I would Gleeboot this like it's like a fucking Ariana Grande Taylor Swift concert. Like I would do like full like spews of fire all over the stage. Everyone's in like crazy elaborate outfits. We're acting like they're like rock stars. That's how I would do it. And this
Interesting.
opening does not at all treat it in this way.
No.
Yeah,
Well,
the actual show is like a weird medium between our two concepts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work. I also will say, because I'm going to talk a lot about the fashion, I'm judging this all based on what was fashionable in 2010, 2011, because I think that's important. What
It's a
my
period
issue
piece.
with a lot of this stuff is that for 2020, 2011, it looks like shit. Like, it looks like they didn't dress up. It looks like they just like, you know, we're going to school on an average Tuesday when like they're at a concert.
Performing at a concert, nonetheless.
But I will say that this group number, at least there is some level of cohesion, because as it gets further down, it goes so off the rails.
There's a watermelon looking
like
outfit. I can't.
I like the watermelon outfit.
See, I'm not like against it, but it was striking and not necessarily in a positive way. I think I feel very neutral about it. Because I just kept thinking, I was like, she looks like a watermelon. She looks great, but she also looks like a watermelon.
My thing with that is that like that is peak 2011 dressing up to go out fashion. So I'm like, quality. This is not peak 2011. Even in 2011, I would have been like, they look bad.
But you know what? No, you cannot accuse me of cultural appropriation in this moment, because this is white culture. The song "Don't Stop Believin'." You know, Journey who? Glee owns this song. Glee made this song significantly better. And like, good on them. Like, I know everyone in the cast hates the song because I had to do it so many times. I know they've done it so many times in the show. Like, it's like when you're in a musical, if you're in Beauty and the Beast, you hate the song Belle because you had to rehearse it 500 times. You know, I was in Annie. I hate every sound that show made because it's not good. But like so I get it, but like, that is iconic. I do want to say that.
I just want to like point out that this is one of the better moments of having a terrible memory, because I was in Annie and it's not a good show, but I also don't hate anything about it because I fucking forgot.
Yeah,
I never got to be an Annie, and I'm furious about it.
Most of that show is 1930s and 40s political humor.
And it works.
Actually, I think that's why it's funnier.
No,
you just have to know, if you know what was going on in the 30s and you look at it like that, then you're in the loop. But if you don't, then it's terrible.
I have never seen Annie.
Even the movies?
Cool.
Even the movies. Not even the Quvenzhané Wallis one.
I was a tiny child with enormously curly, very red orange hair, who starred in all of my school musicals when I was in elementary school, and we never fucking did Annie, and it haunts me to this day because it was the biggest missed opportunity. I'm so like, I was stupid like Lori in Oklahoma, and I'm like, come on, like, I'm about to age out of being cute enough to do this, and then I aged out of it, and it never happened.
And then they did it the next year.
Oh my God, I would have died.
With a blonde.
With straight hair.
If they had put an Annie in a wig at any point while I was still in that school district, I would have rioted. But it never happened.
Then they do, I just want to point out, so, you know, a theme on this podcast is the fact that I have a good memory. I would like to point out that I have a good memory for narrative.
Right.
I had to take notes because I'm like, I really don't. Like, if you ask me, Cullen, what was the order of the song? I'd be like,
Did they do New York next?
No, they did Sing. One of my favorites.
They did Sing second?
Favorites.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bop.
Yeah.
I love their performance of Sing, but it was another one where I was just like, it feels like you did more with this on the show. And I kind of want you to like elevate the presentation.
Yeah,
because on the show, at least they were all in like their campy vibes and stuff. Yeah.
I legitimately have no idea what this song is.
Well, there's a great line about corporations because it's like an anti-capitalist song, and we're watching like peak capitalist content.
Yeah, the irony. But also, so this is where I started paying attention to the flashing screen that just had the word sing. And boy, does that statement change as the songs go on. Can't wait to talk about the Britney Spears number.
That flashing screen. So one of the last concerts that I went to was I lived in Cleveland, and one of my friends worked for the music publication in Cleveland, and she got free tickets to a Chainsmokers concert. and she couldn't, and she had to go to
Speaking of
review
white
it,
culture,
and she couldn't
yeah.
get. I know.
Did they work for alt press?
No, she worked for
Oh.
Cleveland.com.
Okay.
Yeah, but she couldn't get anyone to come with her, and she was like, "Do you want to come to this Chainsmokers concert with me on a Tuesday night in Cleveland?" And I went, and it was like maybe 20% sold. Like it was like empty in this like large room, and their whole set was that it was just them standing in front of a screen with like words flashing behind them, and then them just like pressing a button on a DJ thing and it playing music, and then being like, "Aren't we real musicians?" Like they literally said like multiple times, like, "What do people always say we're not real musicians? Look at this." Press a button and something plays, and then something behind them flashes up and it would say like friend zone and like with a big like X over it. This is like a real thing. And so I was very scarred seeing that thing come up because I was like, yeek.
Where was this? Like what venue?
I
think
don't
we were
even
in
remember.
Cleveland
It
at the
looked
same
like
time.
a high school, but it was downtown. It was the only time I ever went there, but it was one of the like bigger concert venues.
Right. That's so funny.
And then my friend gave them a bad review. Like she gave them a pretty like fair review, and then they read it on Twitter and then commented and were like, "Oh my god, like at least if you're going to review us badly, have like proper grammar." And I read it and I was like, "Your grammar's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it."
They're not even real spellers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay,
They're
here's the
not
thing about
real
the Chainsmokers is that there are songs of theirs that I like, but I can't imagine any reason to see them in concert.
Can't think of a single song by them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
It was the way that they acted in the concert is what really turned me off. Because I'm like, if you just acknowledged like we just make like catchy little tunes that don't mean anything, but they were like, they kept on being like, "We're so talented. Tell us we're talented. Admit that we're talented."
Which is funny because when I saw Bastille, it was actually like a small venue. It was packed. It was right after their Bad Blood album, which was like the peak of Bastille's, you know, but like it was not a huge venue, and they probably could have sold out a bigger venue, but it was like small and it was like a really fun concert, and it had simple but like cool effects.
Yeah.
As opposed
I
to
don't
when
think the words behind someone is bad. It was just a personally scarring experience.
Katy Perry had the best showmanship, I think, of a concert I've seen. That was not, TD Garden was not sold out, but it was the Witness tour.
Right.
Who likes any music on Witness?
Can't name a single song.
Rhythm. I remember one that the music video was Marie Antoinette and Joan of Arc, and I was like, okay, well, I guess it's just like marketed to the demographic of singularly me, but the song wasn't very good. Like, who loves Katy Perry, Joan of Arc, and Marie Antoinette?
Cullen.
I went to a Kaleo concert. Wait, Hannah, did you go to that with me? Yeah.
Yeah, we did. That was
they're
good.
Talented. Yeah, they're very
really
talented.
Didn't you guys see Superfruit too?
We did.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
we took Brittany.
Mm-hmm.
Love them. I haven't listened to their music in a while, but
Very good.
Okay. Then they do New York State of Mind,
which they come out in like blue jackets.
I didn't mind the Glee jackets.
Why is blue?
The Glee.
Blue's not their color, right?
That is true. Like, because all the slushies and stuff are red usually, but then in like here they were suddenly blue slushies, and I'm like, isn't it like red? Red's McKinley's color.
It's so confusing.
Maybe blue just plays better on stage.
That actually might
be it.
Yeah.
That actually could be it.
Yeah.
But shout out to Finn getting the line. Shout out to Maya Dominicanos.
Yes. Cringe.
And then I wrote Blaine comes out. Okay, maybe Blaine was not in Don't Stop Believing, but he was in New York State of Mind.
Sam is in Don't Stop Believing. I don't see Blaine in this picture that I have.
No.
Oh, he wasn't?
Because he wouldn't have been on the show, but neither was Sam. But
right.
Blaine is in New York State of Mind.
I did not pay attention to who was in which song.
There are some interesting narratives when it comes to counting the people. My next note, I have this note multiple times, lesbians. Glee,
yes.
Lesbians.
This is the lesbian blogger community they were talking about later in the show.
Yes, really though. There's this woman, I don't remember her name, even though she was like one of the 3 fans we followed. She had red hair and she has Asperger's, and so she has a lot of social anxiety, and she really connected to the character of Brittany. You know, I wonder how she felt about Sugar Mata.
Yeah, actually, no, that is a question I would like this person to come forward and answer if they feel comfortable.
I was like, if we had watched this,
anyone actually who is on the spectrum, Like, I wonder how they feel about.
Do they establish that sugar is on the spectrum? I don't remember
she's
this.
Undiagnosed or self-diagnosed.
Asperger's.
Oh,
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Yeah. So it's just curious. It's like, oh, someone who like actually has Asperger's. Like, what do you think of that? Like, I don't know how to take that.
It is one of the things where it made me wish I had watched this more in advance, so I could have like contacted everyone who was in the movie and be like, thoughts.
Yeah. Weigh in.
I am curious. Like, do you
make it
put
to
that in
Puppet
your
Master?
Instagram bio? Like, I was in the Glee concert movie. Like, I don't get that. Because do people still look you up? Like,
Yeah.
I've been
have
rewatching
to.
old seasons of Keeping Up with Kardashians, and like, I am still looking the people up who they interact with. Like, I'm curious. So that's got to happen here too.
But yeah, this person had a really interesting story of like, I don't remember when
Her dad died.
I don't remember when the episode it is, but they were basically like, I have like really bad social anxiety and like being at a concert would make me nervous. And then like you see them at the concert, it's kind of just like this small sort of moment where it's just like, oh, like this person was so affected by the show that like they're coming out of their comfort zone and stuff like that, which is cool. It's cool that they have these moments. It's just, it doesn't fit in this content.
Yeah.
And that's like,
there's like no story.
there
there
is so much to
I mean, there's
do
a
with
little
that.
bit.
Because like even like, okay, Glee did a lot of representation, but like lesbian representation especially had just like not existed
Right.
on television. Like it was like so rare, and like obviously
Glee didn't even really want to do
they had
it.
the
Like the
L
fans were like, no, you're gonna do it.
but then I mean, and they did commit to it. Like they do have this like very long-standing relationship, and so it's cool to see that. And I wish they had just either leaned into that or not put it in, because it needed to be one of the two. Because as it was just like this annoying, heartwarming thing is taking me away from these weird skits that these people are doing.
Yeah, she was just talking about how much she loved Britney and how it helped her find community, like the online community. And so they were playing like games and stuff. And it was this group of women, or, you know, people that may be perceived as women, that were, it was like the lesbian blogger community. Like that was kind of the vibe. But it was very interesting because they even mentioned how like she was like, I was crying, and this person who she's watching Britney on screen with, you know, listened to me and, you know, was there for me, but they never textually call this person their girlfriend or their partner.
Right,
They never say they're lesbian. And there is a character who is said to be a real person they interview, who is gay. But it is interesting that queer relationships were never textually to the point where it seemed like a choice.
Because they have
I'm sure that it was.
I do
have
also
the
wonder if that
Lebanese
was their
shirts.
choice or if that was a network choice.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, it was somebody's choice.
Yeah, it was definitely
Somebody
choice,
made
but
that choice.
I can maybe give Ryan Murphy the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Yeah, Ryan Murphy probably would, like, we watched Glee, he would say they're gay. You know, like...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But we did see a lot of people who were just like wearing like the Lebanese shirts.
Mhm.
And there was like maybe one or two sets of women who had them. And then I was like, okay, but are you Lebanese together?
Well, no, there was like a pair of women who both had them, and then like it said like, and they also were like, and it says I love softball. Like they were telling us what they wanted to tell us. That one was clear to me.
And then they sang Slave. Britney sings Slave for You.
And that's where they're flashing the word slave on the light screen. Guys. I saw that. They were doing Britney, and then it would slash to slave. I was like, oh boy, this is wow.
Which, you know, could lead to a discussion about that song.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the concepts of the song, especially because everyone looks at me like I'm just a little girl ready to step into this world, and like the whole like sexualization of this young girl that was very pivotal in the Britney Spears moment. That led to so much happening to her. I've said it before, I'll say it again, we are all the cringiosies in God's fan fiction, and Britney Spears is the main character for now.
Yeah, it was it also made me think just like, this wasn't a Britney Spears concert. So like going to a Britney Spears concert, you would expect these kinds of outfits and songs, right? But parents taking their younger children to see this, and I'm like, oh, that must have been a really awkward situation.
I was so distracted by Britney's attire, apparel. I was like,
that's exactly what she wore when they did it on the show.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm talking about like live.
Yeah.
For me,
Because
I was like, this is the first number that gave like any level of production value that I wanted it to give. And I think that's mostly just because of like Heather's talent as a dancer.
Yeah.
Glee choreo doesn't work in this setting, and hers does.
Yeah, it was a great performance. But then once I was like in the mindset of this is actually Glee and these are the characters as they're portrayed.
Yeah, she's 16 years old.
Yeah.
Well,
she's so unconvincing as 16 though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I think half of the issue here is that like you actually see the audience. You know, you see the audience watching her. When it's a TV show, it's just you and the TV, and you don't have anyone else that
also she has a snake.
is seeing, like,
so she's much more covered.
The number, when she did that number in the show, it was a dream sequence, so there wasn't anyone watching her.
Yeah,
it was for herself.
It's like this weird
so
vignetted sort of thing, and then like I think during her performance, they sometimes flash to the audience and do like reaction shots, and they flash to like a middle-aged father, and I was like, why?
Some of the audience reactions are so funny. Like watching there was this one mom during Don't Rain on My Parade, and she like did the thing. I was like, oh,
and she had like a bow tie over a polo shirt. Now I'm judging the audience outfits too.
You know, it gives me the vibes of my high school, my local high school. I was in like middle school. They did High School Musical, and when me and my sister saw it, people were like standing in their seats and like singing and dancing along. Like people were like, now we're going to go home and watch the second one. It was like an event. So like, this was like that on a mass scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. This number slapped though. It was still really good.
It was
She's amazing.
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun to be like, oh my gosh, just like a couple years ago, she was a backup dancer and now she's doing like her own number, like by herself with her own backup dancers. I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I also just like, I think that there are types of talent that work well on TV, and then there are types of talent that work well in a stage show. And they don't overlap, and they shouldn't, because in TV you need to work well in a close-up and everything.
Right.
And you're seeing like, you know, like Heather's and Harry's talents and like even like Leah's talents translate very well to this type of thing, and some of the other people's don't. Yeah. And so it was cool to like get a number where like one of those got to fully shine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little confused that they were flashing Britney spelled like Britney Spears instead of Britney spelled like Britney Spears.
Yeah.
That was a little confusing.
None of the
think that was just
continuity of who is who makes sense.
Maybe like, no. Britney Spears spells her name Brittany. Totally. This Britney from Glee spells it Britney for sure.
No, Britney Spears calls it Britney.
Yeah, but I'm saying they got it mixed up. They're like, no, Britney from Glee.
Yeah, I see.
They spell it like
I
this.
was like, listen, do you not follow her on Instagram? Because it's clearly there many times a day.
But yeah, so yeah, it just felt really weird. And I didn't even think about the fact that like we're watching Britney S. Pierce, the character who is canonically at this stage probably 16 years old.
That is true. And that's creepy.
Yeah, and that
also, at 16 years old, they should not be touring the international world in this stage show.
Where are the parents?
Exactly. Where are the guardians? Where's
Carol?
the schooling? Are they out of school right now? Because even if it was summer, they'd still need to be doing mandatory schooling hours.
I think Britney was raised by her cat.
That's true.
They raised each other.
Yeah, Lord Tubbington and Britney together forever.
And Lady Tubbington is now helping out.
That could literally, like, slight alterations could be a Brothers Grimm story. Like, her girl raised by her cat. Like I'm not like that. Could be one?
It probably is, and we just haven't found it yet.
So then they do Fat Bottom Girls. They talk about how hot Puck is and his mohawk's a handle.
Didn't like that he was walking through a crowd of children. So
Yep.
Yeah, and then
And also just like the way that the crowd screeched when exercise bikes came out was like, this is the production value you're looking at? Like, is like, holy shit, people on exercise bikes? What?
But also think about, okay, if you're not in the pit, you're like up in the nosebleeds. You don't know what they're on until you see it on the big screen. And it's like,
true.
This is not exciting.
Well,
this is so boring.
Adding the layer of there's like adult women in high school cheerleader outfits on them.
Yeah. Who weren't even riding at any point, I think.
No.
They were just like
those are not the bikes that Freddie Mercury was referencing. So
yeah,
that was a creepy song, just in hindsight, for him to do as well.
Hearing it and I was like, so did that nanny sexually assault the boy?
I mean, you know, it's next.
And then so they have like Mike dancing around in a corner, and then Puck's in the crowd.
Sam is
on his
there.
Guitar. Sam is there, and I'm like,
He's
what a
just playing
waste.
guitar.
Any of them were playing guitar, or were they just? They were just strumming, right?
Cord might have been because I know he plays the guitar.
Well, so does Mark Salling. So did Mark Salling. Maybe they were. I don't know, because
I barely even believe that Corey was drumming. I think they showed us him drumming for like one shot and they put the sound on and the rest was someone else and his sound was off.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times like they're probably lip syncing because they're not all of them are stage people. Like most of them aren't. Yeah, I just have a hard time believing that they would be doing it, but
you know, what a waste of Cord Overstreet. You're going to not going to do Justin Bieber experience, but you're going to put him in Fat Bottom Girls.
And we'll get more to Lucky, but boy.
What a waste. Because I have seen him live.
He's good.
He was great.
Yeah.
Glee didn't realize what they had.
Because also, especially because as someone who survived season 5, and I bet 90% of the people at these concerts haven't. Maybe
no one had
80%.
At this point.
No one, none.
No, but like I'm like
they didn't know what was coming to them.
I had to watch Puppet Master. But like he's at a certain point is almost like Darren Criss and Cord Overstreet are like carrying the show. Like Leah Michelle isn't even that invested.
Yeah.
At a certain point.
The Warbler section was like the most energetic, fun section of the thing, in my opinion.
Even though it stretches the belief of the tour and the storyline even further because
and even though it's like literally just Darren Criss and then like some extras who I was like, I recognize that extra.
Blonde Warbler.
Blonde Warbler is very recognizable.
Just like,
and I was like, good choice on the hair.
There was a part where they were apparently asked the real life people who their favorite warbler is. I was like, do they have names? I think it's just Blaine and then there's
Blaine, Kurt, and then Grant Gustin.
There's Sebastian.
Is that his name?
I was like,
this was before season 3, so there's no Sebastian. I would have been like Telly Lung, who will go on to be Aladdin on Broadway.
And they'll be like, okay, well, that guy was weird.
Who I mentally, when we were watching that season, was like, oh, hot Warbler.
There you go. I like that in this, you see the future. So you at this concert movie.
That's why I'm saying, like, the person who's interviewing, they're like, okay, that was weird.
And this is what Cullen goes back in time to do.
10 months later,
that's what I do my time travel for.
To give the people the props that they deserve. Like, excuse me, this Warbler has a real name.
And he will do things.
And then I said, oh no, Lauren is in this. This is what you give to Sam. That was my response to Fat Bottom Girls. And then Mike and cheerleaders. And then my next note is that Ryan, because he's talking to Rachel.
He says, Barbara's coming to hear you sing. And I'm like, okay, there's no way. Also, why would you put this to Rachel? That's like horrible.
That was the moment where I realized that they were playing their characters. It took me up to that point to realize that. But then I was like, I don't think Leah Michelle, like I think I don't think that's how Leah Michele would react if Barbara Streisand was coming.
No, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, who
she was just like, I knew she would come.
Yeah. It was a little too psychotic for how I think that a real person would react.
Yeah.
But it was also, and this isn't, I was thinking, maybe Leah Michele is my favorite illiterate racist, but because I think
there's not many to choose from that I can name.
Yeah, that have any redeemable. Yeah. But like, so I don't fault her for this because just because you're an actor doesn't mean you have to be a good improviser, especially when you're also like a talented singer. Like, like, but you couldn't tell you could literally see her thinking, okay, what would Rachel do? Rachel would do that, it wasn't great. And that's fine because usually she's acting with a script, and she plays like
with the script that's read out loud to her. So she can
yeah. But I'm never going to fault Leah Michele for her portrayal of Rachel. For the most part, I think she plays the character.
She plays herself.
She plays herself, but especially
a version of herself.
Early on, she was a lot quirkier.
Yeah.
And she played it well. We believed it, but I didn't really believe it in this.
No, I think it's because that part of me kept fighting like the disbelief of like these children would not be doing a concert series. These are the actors. Like I couldn't buy into that, so it just kept competing.
Yeah, because you could have had the actors talking about how they loved performing this song and what the song meant to them.
What playing that character means to them. I would have rather watched that for an hour and 20 minutes.
And this is also like, this is pre like Instagram. This is pre like having a lot of access to celebrities' lives. Mm-hmm. Like what I'm looking for as a fan of the show is like, I don't care if it's manufactured, if it's fake. What I want is the actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you want Paley Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lily Reinhart was so lovely. So she sings. I wrote Old Rachel because this is a throwback to what Rachel used to be before being traumatized by Kate Hudson and shaming a sex worker boyfriend. But she sings "Don't Rain on My Parade," classic Rachel, peak Rachel. That mom that was super into it. I know it's true too.
She was like giving it up to God. She was feeling it.
This is peak. Like this to me was an acceptable outfit because this was 2011 high fashion. This is what I expected them to wear.
Right.
Like I think it's hideous now, but like at the time I would have been like, yeah.
Right. That makes sense.
Like,
totally.
Now I look at her wearing like sparkly flats and I'm like, I want to die. But at the time, this was a good outfit. Yeah. I just think it's hilarious that when they bring out everyone from the cast for no reason to stand behind her and cheer at the end, which I'm like, did Leah Michele ask for that? Like, what did we put that in for?
Did they miss their cue?
Because
she says, march my band out. And then like 6 bars go by and then they run up. And I was like, you guys are
maybe
a little
they were
late.
already there. But it was like, and then they're all dressed like they're going to a different event. And that is my problem with the rest of this special is that every single song the group shows up in, it's like, some of them are going to the gym and some are going to school and some are going to work and some are going to prom. And it doesn't make any sense. Like it looks insane. Like Britney's there in this like weird, like roller skating gym, like 80s fitness outfit that she never wears for any like prominent number. It's just strange.
Yeah.
And jarring.
Yeah.
But it happens and Leah's good. It's just, I don't quite know what's happening with the clothes and it distracts me.
I was also thinking about how, I'm like, this is the culture that would evolve into Pride Month. Like, Pride was obviously a thing then, but it was not what it is now. This was this was rainbow capitalism before rainbow capitalism.
All of Glee was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this culture, this pop, obsession, would go on to form, it gave me Pride vibes. Pride Month is almost over. It'll be over when you hear this, but
such an interesting idea. Not really an idea. I don't know. It's not one of my favorite, actually, now that I thought of it. But this entire country is based on capitalism. So literally any sort of representation in the media is going to be based on capitalism.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because any script needs to be sold to be made for the most part.
Yeah. So
and
that's a lot of why Glee is the way it is to make it palatable to a wider audience.
So it sells to more people.
Yeah.
Right.
And suddenly the Gleeboot cast realizes that capitalism controls everything.
Oh, another
Did
note.
we
Wow.
just suddenly realize? I don't think we suddenly
A
realized.
re-realization.
We figured out how to state it in a sentence, which is a different thing.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if we're allegedly this Christian nation, I do expect to go back to pre-capitalist feudal times, because those were officially Christian nations. So,
Oh, Lord.
where I do get to watch the monarchs eat as a public event, because that was a thing. And if I'm married to a fisherman, I can yell at the most prominent woman in society about why she hasn't conceived an heir yet. So I'm
This
excited.
is bad for me. I'm considering becoming pagan. Bad for me.
Yeah, well, I also have fairy blood, so I do expect to be invited to all events, or I will curse a baby.
Curse a baby.
I will
fine.
curse a baby.
I don't make the rules. That's just how it goes. So, okay, Artie sings PYT with Mike dancing. My
And
note is
other people.
My note is PYT, so 2 Artie numbers, but no Tina.
Yep.
And also, like, if you were going to pick a number from like Artie's oeuvre, that would not be the number I'd pick.
I don't know. What would you
I don't
pick
know what I would
instead?
pick.
Because I literally am like, I don't know.
I don't
guess
know,
this
but I
works.
just feel like there were moments where like Kevin came on and I was like, you're kind of charming and fun. And that was not one of them for me personally.
Well,
I can't name them, but I know they
It's
existed.
a weird song.
Part of the reason I think
Yeah.
they had so many Artie performances is because Kevin is a good live performer and because
Yeah.
he is charismatic.
Yeah.
No,
Kevin's very talented. Like, and I don't blame Kevin for the fact that he plays a character in a wheelchair when he's
Right.
not. I blame
Yeah.
other people much higher up than him.
Yeah,
For
like when
sure.
you're 20 and you're trying to make it in acting,
Yeah,
you're gonna
and
take
like
what you
if
get.
he said no to the part, some other able-bodied person would have taken it.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
It wasn't like if he said no to the part, it would have gone to someone genuinely who should have been there. But yeah, he's talented. I do like him. I just didn't like that song very much.
My next note, lots of gay coding, lots of homophobia coding.
Those comments.
And then, okay. My next note is what happened to Trenton and Brian. We find that out. So Trenton is this guy. He said in 8th grade, he was writing in his journal about his crush on Brian. You know,
Yeah, they
I hope-
really cliffhang that one.
Yeah. And I hope it's Brian's real name. And I hope Brian hears about this and people give him shit for it. Fuck you, Brian. Also fuck the friend that gave Trenton's journal to
Yeah,
Brian.
it was
Jeez,
Trenton's
yeah,
best
that's
friend at the
awful.
time. That person is
They
not
still
cool.
best friends? I don't think so.
Oh no. And
No,
you know,
best friend
that's-
at the time.
That's very realistic for an 8th grade best friend.
Right.
Everything with Trenton, I was like, don't tell this to the Glee people on camera. Like,
No.
don't deal with this in this way. Keep this to yourself.
And so eventually we find out that he passes the notebook around and everyone reads it and makes fun of him. He ends up like switching schools and he does theater and that helps him. And seeing Kurt helps him and he's
Oh,
like,
he
you know,
switched schools?
Yeah.
I missed that part.
yeah. And he
Wasn't
says
he
that,
switched schools as a junior?
yeah.
So 8th grade. So he went 2 years in that same school district with those same people. That must have been horrible.
And he's like, you know, seeing Kurt really inspired me because he was out and he was proud and he was strong about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mercedes sings Ain't No Way.
And I don't like this outfit either. This outfit is very like,
Isn't she just wearing jeans? Like something she would.
yeah,
Like,
she's
like
wearing
she just stepped off of
pink
set.
tank top and like, you know, like a little like over top, like how we did at that time. But it's
Yeah,
very like
layers.
casual going to the supermarket.
It
and
looks
I'm
like she
like-
just stepped off the set from like
It looks
filming
like
a scene.
like it's like not even how her character dresses. Like her character dresses better and more fashionably.
Her character
than
would
that.
have a
Yeah,
necklace that
that's
says
true.
Foxy.
Exactly. And that's something. And that's what I want. I want something and it's giving us nothing. But her
Yeah, well,
song
that's
was
the
good.
thing is I didn't even feel like they were dressed that in character if they're supposed to be in character. Like, because like, so Quinn is wearing like a Quinn-like dress, but she didn't have her cross, which I'm not saying like, oh, she needs to, but like, you know, like those details. Or like at one point, Leah Michelle's in like, or Rachel's in like these pink little shorts.
So the Leah Michelle like purple little like shorts hoodie combination at the end.
What was that?
And it doesn't match anyone. It doesn't match anyone.
Yeah, like what was
It looks
that?
like she
Rachel
just
would
came back from
wear
the gym.
It looks like that episode where like Rachel does like the Sandy from Grease thing.
Yeah.
Like it does not look like Rachel.
And then Finn comes out. He sings Jesse's Girl. You know, good choice.
Yeah.
For
No
Finn.
Rachel undressing in the background.
I would love that detail.
He sounded way better live than he did on the show. I thought.
I don't know if he was actually singing though.
Just like with the song, like he just like his voice sounded better to me, and like the song sounded like, I don't know, maybe he just was like getting energy from the crowd and just like his like mood was coming through. But I was like, oh, like I was just like more drawn to him than I had been at any point on the show, and I was kind of surprised by it.
I think, I mean, because he's a very engaging performer, and I think this is one of Finn's best songs that really works for his voice. And, you know, but you can tell he's not a performer in that, like, it felt like watching 16-year-old me do a performance. As his moves consist of being tall and awkward and walking, and like fist jumping, bumping.
And then
like,
going down and high-fiving. I love a like bend down, high-five the crowd move.
That was literally,
for that, and he did a lot of that.
That was literally me. Like any performance, anytime if I had to perform, that's me when I do karaoke. That's me when I did that lip sync routine for that beauty pageant.
You actually slap people's hands when you perform karaoke?
Sometimes, yeah.
You should.
I've never done karaoke, but I'm such an introvert.
I've been at a party where you've been doing karaoke, Alyssa.
Oh yeah, you invited.
I've done a bye 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 performance with you, and
yes,
I remember at Brittany's. Both of these involved Brittany at Brittany's Halloween party. One of the parties you were dressed as Anastasia, different Anastasia outfit. You were singing "Journey to the Past" with a Manny.
That karaoke.
Wait,
yeah, it was like you were doing the karaoke video.
Wait, we did
YouTube.
Karaoke at Halloween?
I mean, there was a lot going on at that party.
There was. Yeah,
I don't remember that.
That was the party where people straight up who weren't invited came in because they were confused.
Because there was a party like upstairs.
It was the party upstairs. Yep.
They hung out for a little bit and they're like, I don't know any of these people, and then they left. Like, all right, bye.
Iconic party that provided one of my Tinder pics for a very long time. So,
funny.
So I have done karaoke.
There you
go. Clearly not a memorable experience.
Glee is a show for people who love karaoke and aren't very good at it. Because every time I go up to do karaoke, I like imagine it's like a Rachel Berry moment. Like that's the voice that like comes out of my mouth and everyone's like, holy shit. And it's not, but that's what I dream of.
You know, it's like my friend Tierney, who was on the first episode with Goop, always does Valerie at karaoke. And I like, if I'm in the crowd, I will do the bop, 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 bops.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just polite. Speaking of Valerie.
Speaking of which, it is the next song. The next note is Finn is so tall, and then Valerie. My note for that is sapphic energy.
Yes,
because there's like this. They're in like these like 50s-ish outfits, like the skirt, and then Brittany comes out and they're looking, and there is sapphic tension.
Yes,
you know, they're acting the shit out of this, and then Mike comes and some other dancers are doing the dance, and she's really sings.
Is my favorite number like that was ever done on Glee. I think it's just like amazing. Yeah. And I loved this. I hated that they were wearing polo shirts with their very cute skirts, but like from far away it worked. But like this was just like, it was good. Like it's just like when you highlight like just like the really, really talented people in that cast, which like all three of them are, it just like works. It's fun. It's good. It's great. Like Naya was given, everyone was given what they were supposed to. I wish that they didn't even put in other dancers. Like I wish it was just like Heather, Harry, and Naya like doing their thing. It was just,
I would have preferred the show without any backup dancers and like just the cast.
Because also, if you think about it, in the world of this show, those are students. Those are other students.
And Rachel would not want them in Glee Club because they're more talented than her.
And if they, that could be a fun, that could be a fun.
She said it.
That could be a fun narrative where they're like, what if the backup dancers like don't want to be there and they like slushy them or something, you know, that could be, could be fun. Okay. My next note is, I need to know about that Reed photo shoot. So Reed is the boy that asked Janae to prom. He looks like a very nice, normal, average teenage boy. Like very cheerful and friendly, right? Yeah. And so they're like, he's a football player. She's a cheerleader. Could I make it any more obvious? And so they're like, but there's this shoot where he's like doing football things. He's like, and like, I'm just trying to imagine like being like, okay, so you asked this girl to prom. And they're like, okay, you're going to be in a Glee movie now. We're going to interview you. And he's just kind of like, well, I thought she was cool. So I asked her to prom. Like he has the thought line of a teenage boy, like, sure, like I want to go to prom with her. She seems fun, you know, like very fun and innocent.
Kept on like talking about herself like she wasn't a person. And I was like, it's so sad to see like a lack of self-esteem in high school girls like play out in real time. I was like, you're like very conventionally attractive. You're like a cheerleader. Like you seem fun. You're funny. You seem smart. Like, believe in yourself.
She's a winning cheerleader. Like she's on like a winning team. Like, so she's very good at it.
Yeah, believe in yourself. Why wouldn't you want to go to prom with you?
I can't believe I'm nominated for prom princess. And like they have this whole thing, like it's so great of him to like see her as a person and ask for prom. And I'm like, okay, like in a way, yes, it is a positive character trait that he is an empathetic boy and sees other human beings as human beings despite whatever physical disabilities they have. Like good for him in that way. But like you also don't need to make him a hero.
It's like bare minimum.
Yeah, like you don't need to turn him into some savior who saved her. Like he just thought, and that's not how he thinks of himself. It seems like he's just like, oh,
yeah,
like,
she seemed cool.
She seemed cool. Let's go to prom. Like he didn't like.
Do you know what this just like hit me though? When you said, speaking of someone who sees them as a savior for seeing like underrepresented people as people, which is Mr. Schuester. Why wasn't he here?
Mr. No Sue, no shoe, or Emma, but
like Sue doesn't have a ton of songs, but like it's weird, kind of.
Yeah,
that Matthew Morrison wasn't here.
Well, it's because they know which adult supervision that the audience prefers, and it's definitely Goop.
That is true.
I guess. I don't know. It's like I didn't even notice his absence until right now when I thought about it. And now I'm like, that's kind of weird that he wasn't there.
I did make a note about it. I was like, it is interesting.
Yeah.
I noticed it and I was also like, I don't care to see him.
Well, it's just so funny to think of how in season 1 it was like Will's show. Like they really wrote this. This pilot was written about Will. This was going to be Will's show. And by this after season 2, they're doing a full-on concert tour and they know no one gives a shit about him.
Yeah.
No one wants to see him.
In fact, the memes are probably already out there being like, he should be in jail. Like, he should be fired.
People want to see Blaine. He is not even a series regular at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
He's been in like 6 episodes at this point?
Yeah.
But yeah, who wouldn't want to see Darren Criss? You know, like
his eyes were so sparkly
before he was
on
Glee. So that's not surprising.
And then but he has this line, and I'm like, did he say this line or did they make him read? Where he's like, you know, Finn is a jock and Rachel is a nerd. And, you know, Puck likes Lauren even though she's big. He doesn't care. And he was like listing these Glee couples. What was the other one?
I think it might have been Will and Emma.
Yeah, or
Am
something.
I making that up? Yeah.
But it was, I just wrote, don't take life advice from Glee, especially relationship advice.
Yeah.
Like, I think there are, as you can see from this, there are valuable lessons to take from Glee about life and like opening oneself up to joy and accepting people and working together and, you know, seeing people for like, you know, like what matters and not for the superficial details. I don't think there's ever a moment in Glee where I'm watching it and I'm like, you know, this is true love. This is what a relationship should be. You know, I don't think that's what the show set out to do. So like, that's not, but still I'm like, Glee's not a love manual.
No, but I mean, you also got to think about the people who are watching it, because at what point when you were a child and you watched something that presented romance, were you like, this is not true love? It most definitely is true love when you are a child watching something that is presenting romance.
There's also a lot of things that could have fucked you up more. Like I recently watched Smash, and in season 2 of Smash, like Jeremy Jordan comes in, and I was like, holy shit, if I watched this when I was in high school, I would have ended up in like a semi-abusive relationship, because I would have thought that that's the goal.
Yes.
Interesting.
And you see shit like that all the time that's like glorified as being like the right thing.
Right.
And Glee at least is better. It's not great, but it's better.
Glee is also very, as someone who overanalyzes it weekly, it is a very discussed and discoursed show. And I think there's a lot of media that doesn't do that. I think of this a lot with Disney. People will pick, and I'm not saying like, I'm not a Disney, but like criticize Disney, but like people will pick apart these relationships and like no one like, especially because some of them are like magical, like the moment of like, okay, so these fairies are telling me I need to kiss this girl I know to break a curse. Like that's so removed from reality. But like there's so many things that are marketed towards slightly older kids or adults, like rom-coms and stuff, with really realistic toxic behavior and things that could actually happen that is portrayed as romantic, and that just gets a pass. That's like Pretty Woman's a classic, and so I'm not saying not to analyze these things, but like Smash doesn't get the Glee discourse, and like, so it's worth unpacking Glee. It's worth unpacking Disney, but there are a lot of things that are a lot worse and a lot more insidious because they're not as like kind of colorful and in your face, that people don't spend the time analyzing, like Gone with the Wind or like, I mean, people do kind of analyze that one, but like, there's a lot of media that we just kind of let slide. Like I love John Hughes,
like Twilight.
And Twilight, I don't really love Twilight, but there's stuff in there. Like
Twilight,
really,
but like he's a stalker. He stalks her.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
he breaks into her home
romanticized
while she's asleep.
Yeah, watches her sleep.
And which is the Twilight one is super interesting to me because of older stories where vampires did those things and it was seen as villainous. Like vampires were almost symbols of like violent, toxic masculinity. And like these girls were like using wisdom from their grandmothers to defeat them. And now it's suddenly turned with this like romanticized hero. And that to me is super creepy.
It's like that. It's just like that concept of like much older, much wealthier man comes and like sweeps you away to his house where you don't see any other people. It's like creepy as fuck. We've really romanticized, especially like this 2010s era really romanticized that in a way that's terrifying.
Yeah, there's like 50 Shades of Grey, and then there's those Netflix movies that are like even worse.
Yeah, and there's also just like a lot of like books and stuff in general about that type of thing.
Old books.
Old books. Well, and even too, like we're off track, but like comparing like a Bridgerton to a Jane Austen. Love Bridgerton. I mean, it's so fun, but like the men in there are like not the same quality as a Jane Austen man. They're sexy, they're fun, but like, like they put women in situations that like really could have ruined their lives that the men in Jane Austen novels wouldn't do. Like the heroes wouldn't, because.
And we excuse it because we're like, oh, well, today that wouldn't ruin their life. But it's like a good man would have recognized that at that time they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Because someone was going to suffer the consequences and it wasn't going to be them.
Yeah. Like male privilege has always existed, right? That privilege that, I can sleep around and women can't. But if you were like a man at that time, men unfortunately have consciences, and like you unfortunately in that like they don't often use it. And like, yes, society was excusing that, but like that doesn't necessarily excuse their behavior. Even though society said it was fine, like deep down, I don't think those men like, that's a whole moral question, but I don't think those men thought it was fine. Like they knew that they were taking advantage of these women, and that they were using their privilege to do so.
And Mr. Schuster knew he was doing that to his Glee club.
Yes, because he knows that putting weed in Finn's locker is wrong.
He does.
He knows that flirting with Emma while he's married and she's engaged is wrong.
He I'd hope he knows that dancing with these children is wrong, but I don't know if he knows.
I don't think he does. He does it a lot. He
one.
only put one thing of weed in one kid's locker.
He was
That's
upset when Sue tried to fire him for what's it called? Twerking to blur lines.
Yeah, you're probably right. He doesn't know that that's wrong. He should know that that's wrong. He should learn that. Someone should tell him that.
But maybe he does, and he just doesn't. He doesn't care.
They haven't fired me yet. No lawsuits yet.
His own feelings of feeling cool is more important to him than like the safety of these children.
His high school glory.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's why he sent them off on tour with no adult supervision.
Other than Goop. What is that where we're at? Let's see. Okay,
Lord. Are we even halfway through?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I think we're on firework, right?
Yeah. So, speaking of countries, Rachel Berry sings the national anthem, Katy Perry's Firework. I've said it before and I said it again, it should be the national anthem. When they shoot fireworks, I bet more fireworks shows, not all, but more, are playing Firework than the national anthem.
That's probably true. I really did not remember that in the show this was just like a Rachel number, and I do believe that it was, but at this point I was like, I finally understand what the Glee cast was going through every time, like the New Directions members were going through every time they went to sectionals or regionals or whatever, because they were like, why the fuck does Rachel get all the songs? Because this is the moment where I was like, why is Rachel getting all the songs? It felt like a lot of songs.
Yeah.
Well, to me it felt like the concert as a movie would have made more sense if like each character had a song.
Yeah.
And that's part of it was, but then like Rachel and randomly Artie got a bunch more than everyone else.
This was also an outfit that I approved of, though, even though I think it's hideous now. This was very 2010 chic.
Like
She's got like
it looks like something she
it's
wanted
got
to show.
stripes on top. It's got polka dots on bottom. It's got the right silhouette for that era. I was like, this is what I would have expected from the whole thing.
It looks like the silhouette is like a homecoming dress.
Yeah. But it like fits. Like that's what I would have been like
for her.
A girl would have got on stage on at that time.
Did I forget? When does Kurt? Did I forget? So Kurt and Rachel at one point sing Happy Days?
It's
That's
later.
after, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's after like the Warbler bit even.
Yeah.
Okay, so then next is the Warblers. We meet Baby Warbler. He's adorable. He's in his little jacket and he does the dances.
That kid's probably what, like 20 now?
It'll be 10 years later.
Baby Warbler on the podcast.
I'm sorry that I'm not. I don't even want to be here now. I want baby Warbler.
Find him, Julia. Find him.
He was so cute. He was perfect.
He was adorable.
No notes. 10 out of 10.
So good.
Ideal.
Best part, really.
We see his like original like video that went viral, and then we see him at the concert, which is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yeah, and then you think, was he here for Slave for You? And then
that makes me wonder though, like, how did they decide the people that were going to be interviewed? Did they have them send in videos?
That's
I bet
a good
there was
question.
something like that.
Some sort of like casting process. Probably not unlike the Glee project.
That's what I was thinking.
You love Glee,
This
but you're
whole
not good enough to
concert
be
should have
on the
been
show.
thrown out and replaced with the theatrical release of season 3 of the Glee project, 10 hours long.
It's everything is live. They have one day to do everything.
Exactly. And that's what I wanted to see someday.
So they sing Teenage Dream, of course, iconic.
Mm-hmm.
And then they
Perry
sing
who?
the
Darren
slightly
Criss.
less iconic, but one of my favorites from the show, Silly Little Love Songs.
Yes.
Which I loved.
It's a great one.
Freaked out if I was there because it's like surprising, but like it's still like, it's like, oh, I get it, but it's like I wouldn't have expected it.
Yeah, because did that one appear in the show or is it just on the album?
It was in the show.
They were in Breadsticks on Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay, that's right.
He says, "Love doesn't come to me. Sometimes it doesn't come at all," and he sings it at Santana. Santana's like,
right.
Fuck?
Okay, I remember. Okay,
I love that. I love that song. I loved it so much, and I was so happy when it showed up.
Well, that is one of the things where Darren Criss is truly just such a star in that, like, he leads the Warblers, and the Warblers are all doing a great job, and that it is the most energetic point. Like, has the most interesting choreography, has a lot of audience interaction.
Yeah, and also, like, you get a lot of backup singers who are very talented at being backup singers, and they're able to provide backup vocals in a way that a cast of people who are, like, kind of singers and like half solo singers aren't able to, and it just like works really well. It just sounds cool. All the Warbler stuff always sounds cool.
Yeah.
And then this is where we see Damien McGinty.
He's loving the concert, and he's like, I'm gonna be in the concert movie.
And
they couldn't have even like thrown him up there for a sec.
Right. They could have been like,
singing,
we have Damien McGinty. I mean,
I wonder though if
what's his name?
I do wonder if maybe he was at a different show though than the one they recorded. Like, I don't know if all of that audience was from the same show.
Right. That's true.
Like, because all of those people who they interviewed probably weren't even from the same show.
No, because there were different like settings for those interviews.
Yeah.
So they probably did audience at a bunch of shows, but only the stage at one. But still, Damien should have been there. Should have been up there. He's a star. Glee Project season 1 Tide winner.
And then they sing "Raise Your Glass," iconic. And so it's all just really fun. And then this is, I think, where they talk about Trent being bullied, because I wrote for Trent. Is it Trent or Trenton? Can't remember now. Trenton.
Like the city of New Jersey, the capital.
And then
that's where I'm from.
My next
not
note,
Trenton, but New Jersey.
New Jersey. The next note is the fucking safety dance.
Well, before that is when Kurt and Rachel sing.
Okay.
Yes.
They do Happy Days Are Here again. And it's cute. It's fine.
It's cute. Rachel's in a weird sailor outfit that I don't like, but sure, it's something.
I think that was the one that she wore in the show, because I think it was like a reference to like the actual performance with Barbara and Judy. Was it Judy Garland, right? So yeah, I think that's what that was, because I also thought that too, and then I was like, but that looks familiar. But like Kurt does this like weird like little hip shake thing toward the end. I was like, oh, that's like weirdly cute. Don't worry, no one's breaking in. It's just Lyle shutting the door very slowly.
I do. I they probably couldn't get the rights, but I wish they'd done Defying Gravity with the two of them.
This was a weird number, because I like listening to it because I think it's a very pleasant song to listen to. Would I have wanted to see it at the Glee concert? No, I wouldn't have. I would have rather seen Defying Gravity.
Or even Pretty Unpretty.
Literally anything else, kind of like. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like,
there were not a lot of musical theater numbers for the number of musical theater numbers that are on the show in this tour. And I do wonder if it's because musical theater, it's a rights headache.
Probably
a lot more than regular songs are. So
and if you're doing a concert, like a pop song is more energetic. It's more.
Cullen, don't talk to me about how musical theater doesn't perform well live. I would have loved. Are you kidding? If Rachel and Mercedes had done "Take Me or Leave Me" at this concert, and I had been there in person, I would have fainted. Like, I would not have existed any longer.
So yeah, they do the fucking safety dance now. This wasn't even season 2, because a lot of the songs were season 2, because that's the one that just came out. This is like a season 1 deep cut. Like,
yeah, my note says, I'm sorry, they're doing safety dance and he's standing and dancing. Oh my God, the world is hallucinating, as Artie dances in real life. That's literally my note. I was like, everyone's hallucinating. Don't drink the slushies. Like,
I wrote.
Do you think they served slushies at the concession stand at these?
They had to. If they
it must have been like insane.
Cullen's going back in time and making it happen.
Wait, did anyone get slushied?
No.
I feel like someone at one of the shows, somebody slushied their friend.
Multiple times, probably. I wish they had done the slushy confetti thing at the end, but I think that was that. I think that
we can get to that, but
this.
I was very disappointed in the performance of Loser Like Me based on what they did on the show.
Oh no, wait, yeah, so it was Loser Like Me that they did the. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, why didn't they do that?
They're literally on the show in this exact stage setup that they are in this. Like, it's not like one of the ones where like it's like, oh, they're walking through hallways or whatever. Like, they're on a stage And they did so much cooler on the TV show than they did here.
I thought that too. Like a lot of like the TV versions of these songs were just more engaging. And I'm like, that seems like a problem. But maybe it just doesn't. I was just thinking like, oh, maybe it just doesn't translate to like the stage, but that has to do with the quality of the production. That's really what it comes down to.
For Loser Like Me specifically, like the slushy machine, the throwing the glitter or whatever, like that would have translated fine to the stage.
Wonderful.
It worked great. It's the last number. You don't even need to clean up the confetti.
Yeah. And then also they would have a confetti cannon to make it happen even more and perfect.
Great. 10 out of 10. But no, they don't do it.
0 out of 10.
So.
Yeah. I wrote so much Artie and no Tina or Quinn because there wasn't a Quinn song yet, or really any Sam or Finn or Kurt. Like, Artie is just overrepresented for like his role on the show, especially at this point.
Yeah.
And then I also wrote, what reality is this? It's not that, I don't know.
I also had more issues with the outfits and the fact that all the backup dancers, again, different events. They all got different invitations. No one knows where they're going.
And then
chaos.
Janae wins prom princess.
I was confused. So prom princess, is that because she's a junior? And there's a prom queen?
Maybe that's just what they call it. I don't know.
I didn't think it was like a second place.
I thought she was like a junior, so she was nominated for princess as opposed to queen, because queen would be a senior.
I don't know. That was just strange to me. That did stand out to me too. Completely inconsequential though. Good for her though.
Yeah, good for Janae.
But her date wasn't nominated. It was her and some other person that won. Okay.
Do you think that the producers rigged that?
That'd be very Glee. There is not a single not rigged election for Glee prom.
Also, like, she couldn't not win for the sake of the movie, you know?
Yeah. So my actual thought was that like, this is the only one of these three people that we follow that has like a very clear storyline that happens like in time. And it made me think they came up with the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that like this guy asking her was kind of set up that like, oh, maybe they just kind of planned this whole thing. And like the cheerleading coach had something to do with it to like nominate her for this. And not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that. It just feels a little.
Well, it's also though, like if I showed up to high school and I had a camera crew following me for a Glee movie, I would have won prom princess if I were in the running. Like,
true.
Who you are, everyone's voting for you.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing kind of was like weird to me because the other two just have like general stories. This was a story playing out, and it just kind of felt off.
And that was another inconsistency that made it just feel like weird because I didn't know what to expect for the other two because I kind of expected like stuff to start happening.
I thought Brian was going to show up in Trenton's story. I thought we were going to like meet that person or something. I thought he was going
to end up when they first left on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, they're expecting us to think this is going to be bad, and then Brian's going to like him back, and then it was just bad.
I thought he was going to show up, and I thought with the other person that there was going to be something like very specifically like a story playing out, but there really wasn't. Like they were with their friends. Could have been
the showing up at the concert, but they didn't really make that into what it could have been.
Yeah, it is just.
Though they're okay. Here's my theory and why I think it wasn't rigged and set up is because I feel like because I feel like Reed felt like a very real teenage boy, and he also
that was my other thing.
He looked like a boy. He looked like a nice boy. Like it's not like I feel weird saying that. Like, oh, he's cute, but like, yeah, he's like a nice, normal like boy. Like he just didn't like. I feel like Hollywood would be like, it needs to be the quarterback, you know, like it needs to be like super hunky, whatever, you know. And this was just like some awkward kid, like let's go prom, you know, like That's what felt real to me.
There was also again no reason for him not to want to ask her.
Yeah.
Like.
It's just so weird. Like
there are more reasons for him to want to ask her because, like we said, she has a camera crew following her around.
She's a camera crew following her around. She's like cute. She's a winning cheerleader. Like she's popular. She said she was popular. Like there was not anything stopping him.
Yeah, especially like I'd like to think. I don't think it's always the case, but generally at that age, kids realize. I knew kids that didn't, but most kids realize being a jerk to someone because they have a disability is wrong.
Yeah.
Like most kids. I did know some that didn't get that, but most kids by that age have like reached enough level of maturity and not shallowness where they're like, oh, it's just like a medical thing, you know?
Yeah. I think the thing that was tripping me up is that it seemed like there was 2 sets of filming. There was the filming of the actual, like their photo shoot and them at the dance.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went back and shot the promposal and shot her interview, and they meshed it together. And it kind of felt like some of it felt like it was staged, because it probably was for filming.
Was definitely staged.
Yeah.
They did not
but
film
then
that,
there
yeah.
wasn't, but then there was like real life stuff that probably was happening, and they ended up filming it. So it was very cacophonous together, the way they put it together.
Much like the season 5 cover of Pompeii, which I did list as my favorite song of that episode, but still.
Very cacophonous.
Yeah.
So we'll stand by it.
You guys are making me want to rewatch Glee season 5.
Don't.
Please don't.
I will, though, but I will.
Well, at least you don't have to pay for it. At least now it's available on a platform for you.
I would pay for it. I'm watching Courtney and Kim take Miami, and I paid for that. So I would pay for this.
Oh, wow.
So we finally get some Quinn, but it's Quinn and Sam singing Lucky.
And they set up the choir room on the stage.
That was so disconcerting to me.
I agree.
I did not enjoy that at all, that the choir room was suddenly there.
I feel like it would have been better if the whole thing, the whole production was the choir room, or like shots from like the school or other sets. And they had like a story going along with the songs, like not necessarily completely recreating like those moments, but something.
Yeah,
but it was so weird. I was like,
to have it show up halfway through, like it has to show up at the beginning, or it has to show up at the end. It can't show up at this point and be the first set. It's like, I looked away for a moment and then I looked back and I was like, what the fuck? Did it like go to regular Glee?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And also like the Lucky performance, I remember being very cute when they did it, but it did not translate well live.
No,
because it did not.
A waste
subtle.
of both of their talents.
Yeah.
And,
and like when you could have had Quinn and like the Cheerios perform, like even if they were doing, I don't even remember like what weird religious song Quinn does when she auditions.
Say a little prayer for you.
Like if they did say a little prayer for you,
song.
I would have, that's like a showstopper in this context. But to do Lucky is so like, eh.
Well, it's such a cheap choice because they're like, okay, we got to do a Quinn and the same thing. Okay, we'll give them Lucky.
Yeah.
When you could have done I Say a Little Prayer and Baby.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's not like Quinn and Sam were, I mean, I guess they were a popular couple, but they were not together by the very long, like, especially by the end of season 2. Yeah.
And they only were a popular couple because we like both of those characters separately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They weren't even that interesting together.
Well, yeah. And also like really early on in their relationship
were the interesting ones together. More so.
Well, really early on in the Sam and Quinn relationship, she was cheating on him with Finn, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, how do you root for that? I don't know.
Yeah, their best moment is the Lor Minari moment where he speaks in Navi to her. And then I felt watching this so bad for Diana's feet, because I have worn those types of shoes that she is wearing in 2010 and they fucking hurt, and she's wearing them for most of the show. And I just like want to give her a hug and be like, I'm so sorry for your feet. She's like, don't worry, I'm starting an indie midlife crisis film about being a Jewish mother, you know. Like.
And she has a cute outfit for that era.
Yeah.
And the shoes are cute for that era. I just like, I know how uncomfortable those are. And I'm like watching her dance in them in various numbers. And I'm just like cringing.
This is where they have the weird vignette where they're like, Santana's like, I'm the sexiest. Or is that after the song?
It was after the song where they suddenly.
How did they get to this?
They do Ragdoll and then they sit down at the end of Ragdoll.
They do River Deep Mountain High.
So it's like literally right after Lucky, they just go right into that.
Yeah, they just do River Deep Mountain High.
Weird.
Iconic, great choice, great performers.
Love it, amazing. She is dressed like a watermelon. She has a green dress and a pink like overshirt. I was distressed by the colors, but the outfit was on point.
Yo soy Sandia.
And I also thought Mercedes' outfit worked too. That was suddenly where she was dressed like she was on the show, and it worked.
This show is so weird.
I know.
And then, so here's what no Mr. Sue or Sue, right? We talked about this. Rachel isn't in these Glee Club scenes.
It's like she was like clearly she was backstage getting ready for the next number that she was going to be in.
Or she didn't want to be in them. She was a bad sport. But you know who also isn't there until suddenly Goop is there? Kurt.
Yeah, it's really strange. Like,
and I wonder if part of that is because the order we're seeing is not the real order.
That could
were
be
they
true.
getting changed for their little Happy Days number?
Right.
Because that comes late. I don't know.
It's weird because they're like, I guess like Rachel, Kurt, and Finn are like the leads of the show.
Yeah, and that was actually really weird to me that like they weren't featured more.
Yeah, like where was okay? It's not like I really want to see No Air, but like No Air or like the borderline Open Your Heart to Me mashup, classic Finchel.
Yeah,
there were no Finchel moments.
Yeah,
that was
That's
really
a little
surprising.
weird.
And that was the main relationship.
Yeah. There weren't even a lot of Klain moments.
Deeply confusing.
Yeah.
And then, so then my next note is Goop. Gwyneth Paltrow comes in.
I wrote Goopistaki.
Here's my thing. I know that this is not actually possible, but I wanted so badly for her to sing "Fuck You" instead of "Forget You."
I know.
Because it's theatrical. Just say it. But I know she couldn't. But boy, if she had said,
it would have been.
I would have been so happy.
I
love her on Glee. I'm not a Gwyneth Paltrow person, but I think she's great on Glee. I think she's super fun. I was super happy when she showed up, but I was like, sing "Fuck You," have the bravery.
It's also just weird that she shows up, that like they're giving us a moment with the sub that shows up in 3 or 4 episodes at this point, and like we barely see our main people interacting.
Yeah.
She also definitely only showed up for that one night of the tour.
Oh
yeah.
And that had to be like the second number because she has shit to do. Like she's not sitting around backstage.
Yeah.
I also like that she showed up in business casual. Like,
well, that's what she wore
compared to
when she
everyone
sang
else.
that song.
Yeah,
it's the same outfit.
It's just the like muted grays. Like she looks so chic and so cool, and then you put her up against the rest of these poor people
wearing weird stuff
who have been sentenced to like Old Navy clearance rack, and I just feel so bad for them.
You know, I'm a Goop fan. I hate to fully say fan. I'm fascinated.
That's a good way to put it.
She reminds me of like how an Olympian deity would act.
Yeah.
Like not
she
totally
is very
good,
like
not totally evil.
Aphrodite.
Like, yes, like she's what I think Aphrodite is like. Like, yeah, I'm gonna take down Harvey Weinstein, but also buy my vagina candle. Like, so she sings "Forget You." It's fun. There's like good kinetic choreography. She's a good performer.
But how much more fun would it have been if she said "fuck you" and it was just cuts to the audience being like,
cut to Baby Warbler.
Yeah, she starts off being like, "Anybody in the mood for a little CeeLo?" And I just went, "No," but she did it anyway.
We get more lesbians. I think, is this where
there's a person in a Santa costume? Mm-hmm. Did you guys see that? They're just
I saw that. It was so
random. They're like Weekend at Bernie thing, just like in the back.
Fit. Like it's not like a good Santa. It's like a like large Santa.
And I was
costume.
like, what? Why is this happening? But then they were gone as soon as they showed up.
I don't watch a lot of Christmas episodes, so I was like, did I miss whatever reference that was for? But
no. Okay. And then Kurt sings "Hold Your Hand."
Did they? Okay, that's the only one that I was like, I don't remember this at all from the show. I hated the arrangement. Like it was so slow. It was so weird.
He sang it when his dad was in the hospital in the religion episode.
I don't remember his dad. I probably skipped the religion episode because I was like, that's Christian nonsense. But
you didn't want to hear that Yentl song?
No, I don't remember that at all. But I was like, he was doing like a fine job, but I was like, this is such a bad arrangement of this song, in my opinion.
I just feel like it really brings down the the energy of the show. I feel like the show should really focus on high energy stuff and not these slower numbers. Like, no offense to slower numbers, but like that's not what the people are here for. Also,
read the room, Kurt.
Thinking about it in terms of like the context of when he sang that song, and it's like that's a very personal song, and like now you have to sing the song that reminds you of your dad almost dying of whatever ailment he had that season, and like in front of like I guess hundreds of thousands of people over multiple weeks, like just in the idea of this world, it just doesn't make sense.
It's also in the idea of the real world. Beyonce 1000% was like, no, you can't do fucking Single Ladies on your stupid Glee tour.
Yeah.
So they had to come up with another song for Kurt.
100%.
Poor kid.
And then okay, also you can tell it's out of order because like you see the cast coming out on stage behind him at the end. You think it's like the lights are gonna go on and they're gonna do like a group number, but it's nope. Something else. This is where my notes it says all grown up. Don't know what that means. At 19, Glee is a good influence. So maybe
Sure.
I think this was Trenton talking about Glee helping him be out and proud. I was like, you know what? Sure. And then car accident. So they had all the shirts, and they're like, we have the unlucky shirt, and they're like, this girl's
and
in
it's
a car.
hyphenated, lucky.
And they're like, she's in a car accident right now, and she has our tickets. And I'm like, is she okay?
Cringe. Also, speaking of car accident, that person with the red hair, they were talking about how like they want to get a Glee tattoo, that their cat was named Santana, their dog was named Brittany, and their car was named Quinn until they got in a wreck. And I was like, what kind of, I was like, what kind of foreshadowing nonsense is this?
Were they texting and driving? Did they sing I'm Still Standing?
Oh my God. Yeah. I will say I am a sucker for the Glee performance of Born This Way with those stupid t-shirts. I fucking love it. I know it's so cheesy, but I think it's like peak Glee. I think it is like what Glee is at its core and what it is meant to be.
Right.
And I love it.
Didn't see Rachel.
No.
Didn't see the nose shirt, right?
Didn't see Will in his butt chin shirt.
Don't care about him.
He does have a butt chin. He should be insecure about his butt chin.
He should be more insecure.
Who else? Was Finn there?
Yeah. It was everyone but Rachel.
So weird.
And so they sing Born This Way. We get a little Tina solo. This is why Tina is a gay icon, because she opens Born This Way.
Right.
This is the moment, like, this is bad. I'm so used to the show not doing anything with Tina. And it wasn't until she did something here that I was like, wait, why is this the first time I've even noticed? Like, I didn't even notice her outfits. Like, I'm spending this whole time staring at these people's outfits. I didn't even notice Tina's.
She was in some goth stuff.
I did not notice her until this moment. I literally was looking for her. I didn't see her. I must have missed her.
I know she was in like a goth, very season 1 outfit during the choir.
I did see like the zip, and I noticed that then, but I was like,
I totally missed it.
How much I just really have not seen, and I feel bad because like Jenny Ishkowitz is a good
Glee
performer.
hates Tina.
I mean, my brain is so hardwired to like search for Tina and everything she's in. So I saw her, but yeah, I was like, finally gets her moment. It is great. It's peak Glee. Again, inventing Pride Month. And
that is very rainbow capitalism.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy it.
Yeah. And then so I have a note, so many lesbians. Shout out to our grad school classmate who loudly said too many lesbians in a bar one St. Patrick's Day. And I had to do the damage control, which I only did because I didn't want people to think I was associated with a homophobe, not because I cared about saving this person's reputation.
Right.
Okay.
It's so wild to me because I was in grad school with you guys, but our experiences were so different.
Ours had a more film bro energy.
And also just like, we were with different people.
So, okay. so they do like a little recap. They're talking about what Glee helps them, and Janae's something helps you notice the little people.
I like. What I will say though, I went, and it would have been worse in person. I went absolutely feral when I heard the opening beats of "Loser Like Me." I was like, I'm ready. It's time for their best song. Like, I was lit. And then they're like, here, see these stupid interviews. And I was like, I don't care. It's time. It was cute.
But it was a nice like reminder of what Glee is allegedly, and at this point was kind of about. Like seeing, rooting for the little guy. They keep saying nerds, and I'm like, very few characters on Glee are what I would actually consider a nerd.
No, there's one, and it's Artie, and I think it's because he has glasses. Otherwise, I don't think. Someone called Rachel a nerd at one point. I was like, she's not a nerd. She's a theater kid. It's completely different.
Yeah. And we get, they're going by very like nerd or jock, and I'm like, there's layers now. There's layers
the
of
two
clicks.
genders, and now it's a spectrum.
Now it's a spectrum because Blaine is almost the other nerdy character because he has the superhero thing. He does the Dungeons and Dragons thing.
Yeah, he loves Star Wars. Yeah, so he can't be a nerd.
Well, it's because Sam speaks in the V.
I mean, Sam is a nerd. Sam is
also a nerd. Yeah. He's a movie
Sam is
and
pretty
TV
established
nerd.
to be a secret nerd. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Sam does impressions, and that's a pretty classic.
Blaine and Sam are actually way nerdier than Artie at this point.
Artie's nerdy because he has glasses. That's literally the only reason.
And he dresses that way. He dresses like a nerd in an 80s movie, whereas I feel like Sam and Blaine dress more like a nerd you would actually know.
Right.
Like, as in Sam wears the t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah.
Okay, so they sing "Loser Like Me."
No confetti slushies.
No confetti slushies.
I wrote the classist capitalist anthem.
Rainbow capitalism.
I will not hear any critiques of "Loser Like Me." They just go in one ear and out the other. I love.
It's so catchy though.
It's so catchy. But my thing was just like, God, when they performed "Loser Like Me" on the show, it was just like iconic. Like, it was so good. It was so energetic. And like, it's performed on a stage like this. Like, and they could have done that, and they just like don't. And then you have like all of these outfits that like are just like weird, and they like changed half the people and didn't change half of them. And they're like wearing stuff from earlier in the show. And I'm like, buy them new outfits for the finale. Like, make this a thing, make them like look like a group, like make this fun. And then they kept on interrupting it with fan interviews. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have come to care about you throughout this process, but like, you can't interrupt.
This is my moment.
Yeah, like, go away.
I actually, so part of me is kind of like annoyed with the self-aggrandizing that Glee and Ryan Murphy are currently doing with making not only the Glee concert movie, but having this sort of documentary element being like, look how great our show is. Yeah. But then they come out with weird versions of their most iconic numbers, and it's just like, this is not hitting. But also it makes me wonder, like, okay, if the set didn't, I am thinking the way the Journey song was filmed, that is the beginning of the set. But if "Loser Like Me" is like weirdly cacophonous, like, it makes me think that that's not actually the end of their set. Maybe. Like, it makes me think it's going to be like somewhere in the middle.
I don't know what else they would have ended with in the last
That's what concert. I'm thinking, because like, it does feel like they're not put together. It kind of feels like they're coming from a bunch of different places in not a good way. So it makes me think like maybe this wasn't actually the last number.
But they also have to have known that they were releasing this, and they have to have had a plan for what it was going to be when it was released, when they filmed it, right?
I don't know. I'm not going to give Glee.
Not famous for
That's
plans.
a lot of credit there.
I actually think they had the idea of, okay, we're going to do the concert. And then I think they decided to put the interviews in later. I think that must have been like, I think it was two separate projects. It really feels like it might have been, and they just pushed them together, or it was just like a haphazard thing from the start. I don't know.
Yeah. I just like, to me, like, you want to talk about like peak Glee things is like Don't Stop Believing, Born This Way, and like Loser Like Me are just like
the
apex of like what Glee is and what's good about Glee and what's bad about Glee.
Right.
And so like, to me, it made sense to close the show with this in kind of like a fun, unexpected way. But I was also like expected a little more just from like what we got from it, because and just don't interrupt it with these people doing their speeches. They're not even singing.
So what was the encore?
Glee is about?
We'll get there. There's
more notes.
There's more notes. And also, I just want to say, I just have so much. Okay, so like, why didn't we get a postseason 4 Glee live concert? Because imagine more Friends Than You Know live.
I think that's why they couldn't do it. Like, we don't even have an original to hang our hat on.
So it's the credits now.
Outcast.
Outcast. Yeah.
Bad.
I wrote these slushies have VeggieTales energy, because there was a VeggieTales that was slushy themed, and that's what these slushies are giving. It's giving Josh and the Big Wall. And then Artie first, what is this hierarchy? And then so then it's the encore. They do Somebody to Love. Again, choreography not as good as it was in the show, but still okay.
It's also like, I do wonder, was that the encore in the regular show? Were we cheering encore, encore, encore? I would have been okay if that's what they came out with as the encore in the regular show.
That's a good pick. Yeah.
That's a perfect encore song.
You know what's weird about this is it's making me want to watch other concert movies just to compare like the way they're structured. But I know like that thought, I was like, I should watch the Jonas Brothers concert movie and the Justin Bieber concert. And then I was like, I'm an insane person. But I'm also like, okay, but there's got to be like, again, they should have just focused on the music and just given us some sort of weird story with the music, because otherwise, like, why am I seeing this in 3D, no less? Wearing those uncomfortable glasses, they're uncomfy now. They were worse than in 2012, 2013 when this came out.
They were the paper ones often then.
Yeah, I think they probably still were.
At least in small town New Jersey, that's what they gave us, and I hated it.
So like, there's no way I would want to sit having glasses and having paper glasses on top of that. No.
Mm-mm.
So the final thing is they show the kid doing Raise Your Glass. He does the whole thing. He does every dance move Glenn does. Like, he has it memorized.
I love him. 10 out of 10. Should have been in prime time. Should have been the main part of the special.
Yeah, why didn't this kid just do the whole concert?
Where was his story? That's all I cared about.
I've struggled a lot in my 4 years of life.
My angel.
So, okay. Maybe it's something we should decide where we start. Are we doing MVPs and LVPs and
we
songs?
We should do Tina time at least.
Tina time. Tina sang like a few lines of Born This Way, and that is it.
And we didn't see her.
0 interview lines.
No behind the scenes stuff, but Mike Chang got a ton of stuff. Artie got a ton of stuff. Like, her 2 love interests got so much.
Yeah. Brittany and Santana did.
Brittany and Mercedes together.
I always feel bad for her.
Had a lot of like, well, it's mostly just Brittany saying stuff and Mercedes just like laughing in the background, which was fine. It's cute.
But it's like all of those random Brittany lines used to be what Tina got. You know, like a little less dumb, but that was like the type of content that Tina got. And then they took it away. And it's sad. I feel bad for her.
Yeah.
Quinn. Barely know her.
Yeah. I just know, and it sucks that they were on this tour this whole time and they had to do like nothing.
And like most of Rachel's scenes or behind the scenes stuff are by herself, with the exception of like maybe like one.
Yeah, and Santana's
There's
like,
one part where she's in the hair room.
They're like, she knows I would end her. She knows I'd beat her up or something.
And someone's like,
haha.
What does that mean, war? And Rachel's like, no. And she's just smiling. And I'm like, oh.
This whole movie does not play well into does play well into the Leah Michelle didn't get along with the rest of the cast vibe.
Yes. And it also felt like she was very secluded from them, because she was. She literally was. And it's like,
yeah, it's not.
It's like she's not like everyone is outside of her. Like, she is outside of everything else. Like, she just operates on her own. It's really weird.
Yeah, like the fact that she doesn't even isn't even seen interacting with Corey.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was dating at the time, right?
Yeah.
I think so. At least
but you
dating.
barely see him in the behind the scenes too. So then it's like, was he pulled away with her wherever she was?
Now that's interesting. But yeah, we don't get any scenes with him behind the scenes.
It's also like fake it for this one show, for this one documentary special.
Or no, we do get one moment with Kurt.
We get a lot of interviews with like Blaine. We really don't get anything with Sam. Well, because also this is an interesting point because this is where Sam was trying to be a series regular and they said no, so he wasn't going to be on season 3, and then they bring him back. So they're almost like,
Right. So he's already like one foot out the door kind of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Honestly, again, I will reiterate that I think this was really good that we watched this when we did, because it did remind me of the positive impact that the show did have. Even as very flawed as it was many a time, there is, I guess, still something to the fact of representation is really important, even if they don't always get it right.
And all representation will age badly in some way.
Yeah. That's also really a good point. Because like some things of just like, you know, being able to talk about race, quote unquote, doing it in one way, giving it representation, it ends up like aging itself and it's like not good.
Yeah, like Glee was way more diverse than like The Office, but it was still very tokenistic, you know, like.
Yeah. So I think it was good to watch it after season 5 and after like as much as like I was so infuriated and like realized that I didn't know how good I had it back in seasons 1 through 3. But also I think just like focusing on that impact going into season 6 and thinking about, okay, well, this is the way it ends. And so, yeah,
so
a good reminder.
Like, Glee was a very good show for a bit. Like,
yeah,
a lot of season 1 and season 2 is like really quality television that gets erased by the fact that it went so downhill after that.
Yeah, you don't become that huge without something.
Yeah.
Right? Like it may not be what everyone's cup of tea, but it's like it has an appeal. It conveys a narrative.
I watch the Glee pilot a lot because I do think like as someone who wants to be a TV writer, like that's a pretty exemplary pilot as far as just like setting things up and still being entertaining. Like it just works on a lot of levels. And also just like, again, the show, like it did provide representation in a lot of areas that a lot of things didn't, even if it eventually got those things wrong. No, nothing in the future would be able to even try to get those things right if they hadn't first done it wrong.
Right. I think that's true. Yeah. I mean, like the Gleeboot, like if they were to actually reboot the show, they would try to correct a lot of the things that they did wrong that other shows now have jumped off of and tried to improve. But then there would still be things they get wrong just by the nature of things, but also the nature of the show, trying to give representation, trying to have the hard conversations in a palatable way that people of different backgrounds are going to try to understand and connect to.
And also trying to do 22 episode seasons repeatedly.
And
just like, and needing to like do stupid shit.
With musical numbers in every episode, multiple musical numbers. And it's better to take a risk and fail than to never try. Like how many just movies are there that are like just white people, or shows that are just like white people and no representation, and like they don't really do or say anything and they were fine, but like no one will remember them.
Right.
And there's a reason why these things are called hard conversations, because they're difficult and you mess them up frequently. So yeah, that part was cool. I think that just like, again, as we've said, committing to like, that's the story we're going to tell with this documentary, or committing to this documentary is just fun fan service type stuff. And they didn't commit to either.
Yeah.
Which made it a little of a mess.
Yeah. But I mean, the best writing in from season 5, I think.
So
don't be so mean to late term Glee.
Well, that's also another thing is like seeing Corey Monteith again. like performing, it reminded me again that just like his presence is very much, I should say him not being there very much like kind of destroyed season 5. And so like it's good to have that reminder that like they kind of did what they could do in such a short time trying to redo
the
everything.
Writer's fault. Yeah. He also, as a character, in a way, it was like he was sometimes the most realistic. He was like, he did kind of ground the show. Like, I believe that was a Midwestern.
And he grounded Rachel.
He grounded Rachel.
Yes. And that's why she is off the rails. She thinks she's going to LA. It just, if Finn was there, he'd be like, what are you talking about? You said you didn't want to do that until you were like 30 after we've had our first child.
Yeah. Like he was a believable Midwestern Ohio boy.
Yeah. And his trajectory was actually going to keep the Glee Club in Glee, the show. So that's.
Yeah. Cause then they had to start putting a lot of other people coming back to the high school in a way that doesn't feel as real as Finn being at the high school.
Just not real at all. But yeah, so it was a couple of like really good reminders of like, I mean, I still stand by the things that I said about season 5. It's just, but I do also understand that like the feat that they had to overcome. And then going into season 6, it's going to be interesting seeing like, this was the hype of Glee and then this is how it's going to end. Kind of an interesting comparison.
Yeah. And also just thinking about like,
have so much fun.
How
I like season 6.
You know what? We've heard good things about like, it's just like unhinged. Yeah. And crazy stuff happens. I'm like, you know what? I'm here for it.
There's a moment in the finale and I will cry at it every time I watch it for the rest of my life. And that's just life, man. You know what? It works.
Yeah, I expect there to be some pretty emotionally affecting things, like especially just like I get that way with a lot of shows that I watch like from beginning to end. Even if I've seen it a couple times, like I still get really moved in like the Parks and Rec finale just because like I've watched all these people's stories. You know, it's going to be the same thing with Glee, even as up and down as my relationship has been with the show. Like I'm expecting that to happen. I actually got kind of emotional during this, like seeing people recounting like how big the show was to them.
So I did get a bit emotional during this too, because like I just remember like for me, even as like a like relatively straight white girl, like when it came out, it was still like a big deal.
Yeah.
And it was just like cool, you know, and like I get it. I get that level of fandom at that time.
So that was the Gloncert movie.
10 out of 10.
Glee, Gloncert, Gloovy, Glee.
I liked it overall.
I did too, actually. I wish it could have been better constructed as a project, but I honestly enjoyed myself.
I, as a, how old was I in 2011? 15-year-old was the costume designer, because I would have done a better job.
I almost wish they had just filmed the concert and just been like, here it is, like a pro shot.
That too.
Yeah.
I did not like it, but I mean, it was boring.
Oh, I forgot to say my thing. I was going to say, well, I tried to fast forward through all the music numbers just to get to the plot, but you know, that would have been 15 minutes of my time.
Less, honestly.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, so that was the Glee concert movie. We did it, guys.
We did it. Julia, where can people follow you on social media, if at all?
On my Instagram at JEWLIA, Julia Jelly.
Yay.
It's good Instagram. I post my cats a lot.
Content.
They are great.
You can follow Gleeboot on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We are at Gleeboot Pod. You can also follow us on Tumblr, gleebootpod.tumblr.com.
You can follow me on Instagram at Cullen Ever After.
You can follow me on Instagram at a.m.swearingen. And I should have some more art up pretty soon. Guys, guys.
She was doing it while we recorded. It looks great.
You can't even see it. It's because it's blurry. I was drawing lace. It's a freaking
That's the minimal
nightmare.
level of investment in the Glee concert movie.
Yeah,
I mean, yes.
invested. She was feeling the creative spirit.
To be fair, I always have to be doing multiple things at a time. So.
Yeah.
And so Gleeboot is going on a little hiatus. Not like a big one, just like we're taking like a couple months.
Like a summer break.
Yeah, just to chill, relax, and do things that aren't watch Glee. And
take
then,
a breather before season 6.
Yeah,
what
so
else
we
is
can
there
go
to
and
do besides watch Glee?
and we will go full steam ahead into our final season. We have some great end of the show content for you. We're going to try and bring back a lot of guests, a lot of other Glee podcasters, some Glodcasters, a few guests that I've been trying to get on the show for a while, so we have a pretty exciting season coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So catch up. This is if you've heard this one, you are probably caught up, but catch up. This is the time. I love when my favorite podcasts go on hiatus because I can catch up on episodes. Yeah.
You're being so generous. You think that we're somebody's favorites?
Yeah.
I'm sure we have like 30 listeners. We have at least one person who probably who thinks we're their favorite. We have 30 weekly listeners who are up to date. I think there are more who are catching up.
Okay.
People like us, Alyssa.
Self-confidence. I'm still working on it.
You got
this
this.
entire podcast, Alyssa's been like, people are listening.
All right. Bye, Glee Booties.
Bye.
Bye.
Also, Julia, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course.